Virtually gone blind.
You also do the sing-songy thing then when you're just working.
Yeah, the classic.
I don't even realize that I do that until it was years ago now, where like a friend of mine just like, "Why are you singing?" And I'm not singing. I'm just going about my business for the day. But apparently, like when I was making a cup of tea, I was like, "Doody doo, getting a cup of tea." I'd probably just narrated my entire life in song like a Disney villain. And
I
I had
mean,
no
that's not
idea that I did it.
necessarily villainous, because like that's exactly what all the Disney protagonists do as well.
You've not seen how bad that cup of tea was, mate. It was absolutely nightmarish. But yes, welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this one, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the ever illustrious Lucas Holland.
Yeah, I stole Carl's gimmick.
It's not funny. It was funny at first, and now I'm starting to get a bit annoyed. Because at first, like when you said, "Oh, I'm setting up the green screen, I want to use the green screen," when you fucking better. I've not seen you use that green screen yet.
You have, if you've watched the Susan Storm video.
Yeah, you have, but that was the blue screen. That's the green screen.
Yeah, but then the blue screen was fucking with the blue bits that are the exact same colour as the blue screen are.
Oh, Diddums, is the green screen? Is it messing with the? That's my gimmick as well.
That's what I don't want to do. Oh, it's a lose-lose. Because I tried to make it work, but because OBS, OBS doing it in real time doesn't have all the sliders you can adjust it
bells
with.
and whistles, yeah.
So doing it in real time last night when I was like streaming and you pointed out, I was like, well, I'll just chroma key it out, and then it chroma keyed my hair out, which is exactly like I can't.
So that's ripping off my gimmick, man. I should clarify that I'm not annoyed about this. This is me and Lucas joking. It's called banter.
It's doing a bit, right?
Yeah, but it does come like some people might read it as a bit aggressive, like stop nicking my gimmick. It's like, I don't care. All right.
I'd hope you don't.
I don't mind it, but I think by this point you should get your own gimmick, right? Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, I mean, my own gimmick is the cat earphones, right?
There you go. It's fine. But yes,
like
again, I'm joking.
Well,
it's just funny.
The worst part was you took a screenshot of me playing Zelda with the green screen on and all that, and you were like, "Oh, in a joking way, look totally mad at Lucas." And you put a screenshot of as I was playing Zelda, like, "Yeah, this is the clink. This is where we put bad people behind bars." I was like, "This is really threatening, Carl."
No, I didn't realize I did that. I just took this random screenshot on my phone, so I was like just watching it half while I was playing some.
You
some
timed the picture of like the screenshot or whatever you did just in time for when during my playthrough of Zelda I was talking to like an NPC and they were like, "Yeah, this is the jail."
That's the thing you should learn as well. If you want to make content in front of a green screen, be prepared for some real unsavory edits.
True.
Yes, but yes, this isn't Fact Fiend. This is the spin-off of Fact Fiend, Wiki Weekends, and I'm hosting this week. And Lucas, I'm excited because I've brought a really, really fun topic for us to talk about, but I won't be speaking about that until after the break and after the usual housekeeping. And we always have housekeeping, don't we, Lucas? And what's the housekeeping for the start of the podcast this week?
Well, we do actually have a small return. Not a triumphant return, but like just a whisper of a return to which wiki won this week.
A suggestion of a return.
Because I'm not in the usual like routine like I used to be of making sure I'd post it, with a good amount of time. It was like sitting down to record a Fact Fiend episode before this, an hour before we went live for the podcast. I was, oh god, I haven't put up the poll. So we've had like an hour's worth of a which wiki won this week poll up.
And guess who won? Me. So the people know I needed my. It's like, I'll get some revenge. Win the which wiki won this week poll. And that's how you'll get your revenge.
As I said to Carl just before recording, clearly the Pokemon didn't go to the polls this time.
Is that like one of the cringiest lines? Because I feel so bad for Hillary Clinton because clearly like some staffer on her team told her, okay, kids use TikTok. You should probably go on TikTok. It's like, okay, what do kids do? So they play Pokemon Go. So she's like, Pokemon Go to the polls, and everyone memed on her for it. It's like, she don't fucking know.
I've heard the phrase Pokemon Go to the polls and knew it was part of the campaign. Did she do that on TikTok herself?
No, she said it on the campaign trail, and then on TikTok, she had like it's her next to like Joe, one of those chiller bottles. It's like whatever they're called, and it just it's like scrolls up to her, and she's like, just chilling. And it's like watching your mum try and use like a computer, and it's fine because she's not. You don't want her to be good at computers, do you? You want her to be a fucking president. but it didn't help sell her to younger people.
No, and have you had that before where, like, you know, family members who maybe aren't really online people turn around and go, you know what, I've got a really, like, funny joke that you could put on, like, TikTok or something?
My dad does it all the time. Because my dad, bless him, he understands what YouTube kind of is. He doesn't understand how I get paid for it or how it makes money, but he knows I'm on it and it's a thing. But he doesn't understand the scale.
Yeah.
So he'll always, like, for weeks, like when like the news of like the KSI Mike Tyson fight was breaking, because that actually made it into, like, you know, outside of the internet.
It
He was
broke
asking me,
through,
like,
yeah.
do you ever get asked to do it like that then? So no, oddly enough, Dad, no, I don't. Like there was some like TikToker on like Dancing with the Stars or something, and he's like, "Oh, have you ever thought about applying for something like that, son?" It's like, Dad, I don't have an agent. I'm just a guy.
Yeah, it's hard to explain the difference between, well, where, you know, a YouTube channel that's like less than 1 million, right?
Yeah.
But we've got some level of like subscribers and stuff,
Yeah.
depending on what channel you're talking about and stuff. Like, but ultimately, it's really hard to explain. Well, like Wiki Weekends right now, at the time of recording, like just under 31,000 subscribers, which is a good number, better than most. But it's not 40 million subscribers.
The way I explain it to my dad is, it's like, I am to, like, because it's the only two he knows, like PewDiePie and KSI. It's like, I am to PewDiePie what the guy who appears in, it was like the second runner-up on a local pantomime is to Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent, right? It's like, it's the guy you'd see maybe on like second billing on a pantomime poster behind Ian Beale from EastEnders.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Tom Cruise would be like the people on the upper echelons.
Yes.
And he kind of understood it that way. But yeah, that's about the closest I get, where people know what it is that I do, but they don't understand the scale. They just know it's you work on the internet, right?
It's like you're you know, notorious, popular enough to like have literally had people stop you before in the street and be like, "Hey, you're that guy."
Yeah.
But that's very different from, yeah, like as you say, like a fucking A-list celebrity walking down the street.
Yeah, or like I said, well, that's about the closest I get to experiencing like that aspect of just parents and adults just not really understanding what the internet is.
Because, you know, I've had the exact same thing of like family members in the past be like, I think it would be really funny if you like did this little joke on TikTok and you just sit there like, maybe, yeah, maybe one day, yeah.
It's always the one of, oh, you should talk about this. And it's like, I'll add it to the list. And I still, like, when it's family, I don't mind. 'Cause it's just funny when it's family, so I don't give a shit. I have a standing order with anyone in my family. If you ever want me to promote anything on any of my content, just let me know and I'll do it. But as my younger brother said, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, expect at some point in the future, I don't know when, for me to just like give like my sister and her fiance like their chocolate shop a plug and just be like, go buy some chocolates from them, because like they've opened up recently and they're doing well right now, and I'm just like, I know you're busy right now, but like after Christmas when like people might be buying less chocolates and stuff, like I'll just give you some plugs, right?
Yeah. So I still remember when my brother told me, so, you know, I have a fairly unique last name, and someone at his work asked him, like, Smallwood, are you related to that Karl Smallwood dude on YouTube? And yeah, it's my brother. They asked him, oh, he's really funny, isn't he? My brother went, no, he's a prick. I think that sums up like what my family thinks of my job.
It's a very like northern British way of doing responding to that kind of thing, though, right?
They just think they don't. No one understands what it is that I do. But you know, do you know what I do understand, Lucas? I understand the allure of Pet of the Week, because I just see Oreo. There he is.
Oreo's
I don't know. Is
chilling.
Oreo boy or girl? It wasn't clarified. We don't have the pronouns for Oreo.
I was gonna say
I
don't
they're a good cat.
believe so. Let me just check what the like what's right, what like the little tagline for Oreo was. Okay, it's been super hot recently, so here's Oreo chilling in front of the TV.
That's too neutral. We don't know. Do you know what? Like Oreo is an enigma. They're like Prince. They're known by a mononym.
Yeah, they're just Oreo.
They break all boundaries.
Oreo.
Just like the Oreo they're named after. Are they black? Are they white? Are they male? It doesn't matter. They're Oreo.
Oreo.
Which reminds me, it's a quote from RuPaul that It's like RuPaul, working on Drag Race,
Hmm.
often gets asked about, oh, what pronouns do you want? It's like, I don't care. Just talk about me.
My pronouns are Rue and Paul. Fair enough.
Did you see it? I think RuPaul's Drag Race had one of my favorite. So it's a super microcosm of like the show, but for one of the seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race, one of the like looks that the drag queens had to do for that week was an iconic RuPaul look. And one of my absolute favorite moments of Drag Race is when one of the queens did like out of costume RuPaul. So he wore like a bald cap and the glasses, and you see RuPaul go,
Not amused.
they're not happy about it now.
Oh dear. I mean, like, what a way to subvert expectations, though, right?
Yeah, I thought I was howling when that happened. Yeah, so I always give RuPaul props as well because RuPaul sung Kurt Cobain's favorite song. So do you know those like weird celebrity connections of like, yeah, Kurt Cobain was a huge fan of RuPaul.
Oh,
And
right.
Whenever they were asked like, what's your favorite song? It's like, Who Runs the World? RuPaul
nice.
or Superstar, I think it was.
Yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, I don't know much about RuPaul other than, like,
Drag Race.
pop culture osmosis of Drag Race content, yeah.
No. Just, yeah, Kurt Cobain's favourite artist. Which is just one of those weird things. So do you know another one I found out recently? This blew my mind. The voice actress for Bobby Hill is the inspiration for the Toto song Pamela. Because the voice actress for Bobby Hill, that's like Pamela Hilden, I think it is, used to date the lead singer of Toto.
Oh, nice.
What a weird connection, right? You know, we're not talking about that today. You know, we've got to talk about Oreo. And if you think like, your pet can like top that Oreo energy, you can go to our Discord, found link below, and you can submit a picture of your pet. And remember, the blurrier, the funnier.
Yeah, and of course we don't vote on which wins pet of the week. The rest of you all in the Discord do. But you know, if you want to submit your own pet for pet of the week, then if you're a patron, you can do so on our Discord.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that if it ever comes to a tie, the funnier pet picture wins.
Oh yes, that's literally what happened last week, right? Of like a couple were tied, and we were like, well, Panda Blur looks like just the Evanescence photo and is blurry, so there we go.
And if it comes to a tie, if both photos are equally funny, it's the pet with the funniest name. That's it. I love when people give pets stupid names. And what do you think? The thing is, there's two ways to give a pet a stupid name. Either give it a really normal sounding human name, or a ridiculous name. Like, and I just think both work. Like, it's like my friend's got a Chihuahua called Grandad, and it's called Grandad because he can't walk downstairs because it's too small. Why'd you call it Grandad? We can't walk downstairs, just like my granddad. In the bungalow, and I was like, "That's perfect." Just every now and again, it's like, "Come on, Grandad, come on."
That is a great one, and
is that a great name?
It's why I keep saying, you know, obviously we got two sausage dogs named after Destiny characters who are Cayde and Oryx, and I just keep saying that, like, okay, well, we've got Oryx, who is one of like 3 siblings in a group of like these like hive gods in the lore. And
I thought you were talking about sausage dogs then.
Yes.
I thought that was like the name for a group of sausage dogs. A hive?
The hive mind of sausages. No, it would be, of course, a link of sausages, Carl.
Or a multi-pack. Multi-pack of Dachshunds.
I always say just every time, like, well, if we get a third one, we should either name it Savathun or Zivura. Because that's the, like...
call it Dave.
No. We'd probably call it Eris, because Eris is another one of our favourite Destiny characters, but like, I just say like, yeah, but Savathun. Like, our family members already can't handle Cayde. The amount of times it's been like, you know, just they got the word Cayde wrong. Imagine being like, yeah, Savathun, let's go.
It'd be short and right to like Sabby or something. It's like for years, like when I was looking at buying a dog with my ex, she'd always get mad because every time she said, "What should we call the dog?" Not Nintendo. And I would not budge on calling the dog Nintendo. She said, "No, that's a stupid name for a dog. The dog doesn't care, and it's funny."
Yeah.
Just calling my dog Nintendo.
It always throws me off when it's like there's some names obviously where, like Alfie. But Alfie is an acceptable name for a human or a dog. I associate it closer with dogs, but I've heard both, I've met both. Whereas it's when it's like Peter.
The thing is, that's still funny though. It's like, was that amazing like Tumblr post, isn't there? Of my sister had a boyfriend of the same name as our cat, and like the boyfriend broke up with her because he couldn't stand that we called him like Human Greg.
Yeah.
Or the other one is like a lass on Twitter is just recalling when a boyfriend's calling up for his to book his cat in for an appointment. It's like, what's your name? He's like, Josh. So what's your cat's name? She doesn't take a deep sigh. It's like, Baby Josh. It's like, as long as it makes people laugh, right?
And I also approve of names like Oreo and stuff like that, where it's just name them after like fun food items. Like when you got cats that are called like Waffles or Jelly Bean or something like
Or
that.
it looks like, you know, like Oreo Black and White.
Oreo's a good name.
It's always a good one. So name it after like, you know, what the pet physically resembles. So yeah, hope that, like, keep those ideas in mind. So like, they might help you like cinch a victory in next week's Pet of the Week.
Hell yeah.
And I think we can save the rest of the housekeeping for the midpoint, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Got a few things to announce, but other than that, like, Lucas, I want to know what you're talking about today, because I see that dragon. I see
Yeah,
that purpley dragon.
we see a purple dragon on that thumbnail over there, and just, yeah, we are talking about Spyro the Dragon, and specifically, I have got the wiki page up for, like, the first Spyro the Dragon game, and basically just, like, I've already played some of it.
I think
but,
everyone has that, right?
I was going to say the remastered trilogy.
Okay.
That just came to Game Pass yesterday, and I was just like, what? Let's play a bit of Spyro the Dragon. I was just chilling there playing Spyro the Dragon last night. Like, yeah, let's talk about it on podcast. Why not?
And what do you think of Spyro as like a mascot? Because consoles don't really have mascots anymore, right? Nintendo still has Mario, but I think Mario is akin to like what Mickey Mouse is to Disney, where he's not a mascot of any particular console. He's just a mascot for the entire brand as a whole now, right?
Yeah,
like he's missed a video game.
A weird thing, right? Of like PlayStation, kind of each PlayStation console has the like kind of mascot games almost, not necessarily mascots, but just obviously PlayStation 1 was a little bit different because they literally had like Spyro and Crash were kind of
they were trying to compete with Nintendo and Sega at the time, who had Sonic and Mario. They thought they also needed a cutesy platformer mascot to sell their console. And it's a shame, right? I wish that they did, because I like that when Nintendo announces something, the Mario will be involved. Even if he's not got anything to do with the games being released, Mario's there. Because he represents the company. It's like Mickey Mouse, right? Putting a friendly face on this monolithic corporation who just wants your money.
And obviously,
I don't mind giving them money when it's Mario.
PlayStation have kind of had like different generations of mascots going in and out of having one that you could say is a mascot, and obviously PlayStation literally do have the mascots in Japan. They have like the little white cat and the little black cat. Yeah.
So who was your least favorite, and why was it the guy from Killzone? I hated when every PlayStation like box had the Killzone guy on it on the front.
Generic Hellgast mask, and it's like, really? That's the thing we're gonna double down on here?
He's in all the advertising and stuff, wasn't he? It's always Killzone, man. It's like, he's so lame looking.
I really enjoyed the games, but I
the games
didn't.
Are good.
No, I was gonna say going on to like my pick. I enjoyed the games, but like the person Cole McGrath, I thought was just generic white guy with no hair.
He was never as cool as Alex Mercer.
No,
because Alex Mercer could run really fast,
and Alex Mercer had like 3 pop collars. So what are you gonna do about that?
She's like 3 times as many pop collars as Cole McGrath had. It's a shame. And then I think like the PS4, PS5 era, it's kind of been it's a toss up between Ellie or
Aloy, or
Ellie.
Ellie, like Nathan Drake, but Nathan Drake was more so PS3.
I'd say Kratos is probably the closest thing they have to a mascot, because at least he's been on more consoles consistently, right?
Yeah.
Like he was on the PS2, the PS3, the PSP.
And usually when they do like the PlayStation Studios thing before a game starts up, I think the most prominent face is Kratos.
Yeah. So he's the closest thing, maybe not a mascot, but just a recognizable IP that they own.
But that's the thing, right? Is it's very different from a mascot. It's very different than putting Astrobot in the front and being like, hey, this is Astrobot, and he's going to dress up like all your favorite PlayStation characters, and that feels way more mascot-like.
I can't see Kratos being at an event, right? But you can imagine someone dressed like Astrobot coming on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I would like it if Astrobot became a mascot for PlayStation, because Astrobot's a cool character, and I like that they can dress like other characters in PlayStation's history.
It's really weird because PlayStation 3 era had Astrobot essentially because it had Sackboy.
Sackboy. And just Sackboy was great. Those games were fantastic.
And Sackboy was there. Sackboy was the kind of preliminary mascot for a while, and then just kind of got phased out of nowhere, really, and still had a game on PS5. And I think Astrobot is basically just like the like not so soft insides of Sackboy. They unzipped Sackboy and Astrobot was just inside.
Yeah, because the last thing about Sackboy was very similar to Astrobot in the sense that Sackboy dressed like other characters. But I think the design, as good as Sackboy's design was, it was very cute.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't lend itself very well to cosplaying as other characters. Because when you give him for example, because his design is dark, no detail could really be put onto his design, whereas Astrobot being like this pure pearly Colgate white.
It's a very blank canvas, right?
Yeah. The accessories really stand out on Astrobot.
And obviously, back in the early days of like the PlayStation 1, there was a fight almost for mascot status, and hello, we've got double mascot appearance.
Speaking of mascots,
oh my god!
Why is it every recording session?
I don't know.
They just hear you talking.
Oryx
right?
is gone. Hey, are you gonna come in?
Are we gonna get Can we make Cayde the Wiki Weekends mascot? Would that be okay?
We can.
Oryx
might be upset by it, but for audio listeners, not one but 2 dogs just broke into the office.
Now imagine if Lucas had 3 dogs.
Oh god.
They'd outnumber you, but you've only got 2 hands.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to like keep one of them held up, whereas like I don't know where Oryx has gone. He's just gone on travels. He walked in and out.
You don't know where he is. So whenever I see it every now and again, and it's like, have you seen that bed that underneath it has like a maze for your cat? Imagine if you got that, and it's just you're not getting Oryx out of that. He's gone.
Just gonna chill for a bit, Cayde.
That's fair, but yeah, it's for a while it was the mascot for PlayStation 1 was try to be Crash, try to be Spyro, and I think Crash had a better chance of being a mascot. Oh, his dog being collected.
He's getting stolen away.
He's being collected. Again, I think it'd be a really great gimmick if we ever get to record in person. You just pass him to me.
Thank you.
But yeah, in regards to the mascot thing, it was, I think, Crash Bandicoot that had a bigger push because Crash Bandicoot just naturally lent himself more to, you can put a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume. And they literally did. And they sent him to Nintendo headquarters and he stand outside with a megaphone calling Mario a pussy.
Like, that's the thing, though. We never got, like, Gex stood outside Nintendo headquarters, did we?
I don't mind Gex, but Gex was... Okay, one day we will do a Wiki Weekends on the shitty bottom of the barrel like platform mascots that tried and died on their ass. Because you had Crash, you had Spyro, you had Gex, then you had like Croc and Taz the Tasmanian Tiger.
Croc and the Legend of Gobbo.
Everyone always forgets about Croc, right? And then you had like Bubsy.
Bubsy. Who is the? There's obviously like the Spike from Ape Escape and the apes from Ape Escape, which I think the apes are still really good.
I don't mind them because that game was designed to sell the analog stick, and any mascot that is introduced to sell a new gimmick, I'm automatically okay with. Save like Astrobot selling like haptic feedback and stuff. That's
one really funny thing that I've seen argued a few times now, is that obviously a lot of Xbox fans are like, hey, you guys own Banjo-Kazooie. Fucking do something with Banjo-Kazooie. Like,
make them your mascot.
Another great mascot character from back in the 90s. And then you'll see all these PlayStation fanboys going, oh, people go on about, like, Banjo, but Croc outsold Banjo and no one talks about Croc anymore. And it's like...
No, there's a reason no one talks about Croc.
But there's a reason that Croc outsold Banjo-Kazooie that they always leave out. And that's because for the longest time... the easiest way to get a DualShock controller was to buy Croc because it came with one. And it's like it's got that inflated sales
It-
because people bought it for the
It's that
DualShock
asterisk
control.
you've got to put on, right? It's like, oh, Wii Sports is one of the best-selling games of all time because it came free with a Wii.
And like We Play was one of the best-selling games on the Wii, but that's because it was the same price as buying a Wiimote, and it came with a Wiimote.
We mentioned Prince earlier. Prince had one of the best-selling albums of all time because he gave away a free album based on like Joey's. Prince had like decades of unrecorded material. He's went into his archives, dug out a bunch of unreleased songs, slapped together an album, and released it for free in a newspaper. And then very quickly, like the people who track that sort of thing went, "You're not allowed to do this," because no one's ever going to top that number.
God. And what? Speaking of just like a hidden catalog,
Yes.
I saw something, and I don't know. Like maybe I should just Google it while I'm trying to talk about it now. Oh, god damn it. So I saw a report about Robin Williams, and don't know if you saw something about this recently.
No.
So
I'm
I
curious.
believe that like there's just apparently like a bunch of like footage. And I must have just got this late because this is from like last year. Someone posted this.
I know, like, they improvise so much. For example, Mrs. Doubtfire, they said we've got enough footage for an R-rated version. Same with Aladdin.
Well, the thing
They've got,
I
like, 20
saw
hours of archive footage.
was from last year. I'm seeing from remindmagazine.com here. Is that there are 972 boxes full of Robin Williams outtakes from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, that's it. They can make an R-rated cut of the movie if they wanted to.
Like they also, Chris Columbus has apparently said like at some point he just wants to use all of that, like 900 boxes of outtakes on film reels. Like that's how much he's got, and just wants to like make an entire documentary about Robin Williams' process based on that.
Well, let's say they could do that, or they could just make. I think they talked about with Robin Williams, he improvised so much. Very frequently, when he works on kids' films, because his improvisation sometimes would stray into the adult, they would say we could make an R-rated version of the film with the footage that he gave us. Like they did the same thing for Aladdin. They said that a lot of the stuff that he recorded couldn't be used; it was too adult, too blue for a child. But it exists, and Disney archives everything, so it's out there somewhere, but it'll probably never see the light of day. Similar to Prince. There's a story told by Kevin Smith where he followed Prince around for like a year and filmed a documentary on his creative process. And then he asked Prince, I'm like, so what are you going to do with it? I went, well, I'm going to put it in my vault. And he put it in the vault, and no one ever saw it. Like Beyonce does the same thing. She has a person who follows around 24 hours a day with a camera. At the end of the day, they edit it into an hour-long like episode from her life, and then put it into an archive where no one's allowed to see it.
But that's also the thing, right? Is that if you've got all of that sitting in an archive somewhere,
You've got to do something with it,
at some point, like, for some reason you decide I want to document something that happened, well, all of a sudden I've got years worth of footage that I can pick from, right?
They're the people who like end up being unsung heroes like decades down the line. There was that lady in like the 80s who she just went a bit mental one day and just every episode of every TV show she ever watched, she just recorded on VHS. And after she died, people went to her house and just found like crates and crates of VHS tapes. So she's now got a living archive of 10 years of television, including all the including stuff that probably never see the light of day again, like advertisements or live new broadcasts that wouldn't get saved.
And I wonder how many of those Beyonce archives they're going to need to like drag out, just put on display for the Diddy trials and stuff. It's like, oh no. How many things have been like caught live on tape by just Beyonce's people?
Maybe. But yeah, tell me more about Spyro.
Well, Spyro the Dragon is a 1998 platform game developed by Insomniac Games. People may remember Insomniac Games from just constantly making fantastic PlayStation games and also a game on Xbox Sunset Overdrive, but more modern times they now make like the Spider-Man games and have said that they're at some point releasing a Wolverine game.
Would you consider Spider-Man to be a PlayStation mascot? Or is it just like Spider-Man's like a PlayStation hostage?
I think Spider-Man's a Sony hostage, right?
Yeah.
Because he's also a Sony film, like a Sony Pictures hostage. So it's one of those of, I think the reason why they were able to get PlayStation exclusivity for the Spider-Man games is something to
Sony
do
owns
with the film
Spider-Man.
rights still. Play nice.
Yeah, so he's a hostage of PlayStation then.
A hostage of Sony is how I like to think of it. It's just all encompassing anything you ever see Spider-Man in. There's just like Avi Arad's little fingers creeping in.
It's not great, is it? Go on. But
No.
Spyro, little purple dragon.
But Spyro the Dragon was published by Sony Computer Entertainment for PlayStation, and this is talking about the first game in the Spyro series. It stars the title character, a young purple dragon named Spyro, and its dragonfly friend Sparks, who must journey across the Dragon Kingdom to defeat. I can't. Is it? Chat, let me know. So I haven't played enough of the game. I've only played a couple of levels. Is it Gnasty Gnork or is it Nasty Nork? I can't remember whether they make the joke in the game of him being called Gnasty Gnork.
I always play Crash Bandicoot, so I can't help you here, my friend.
Mm.
I was like all in on Crash. I think Crash is a much better mascot.
It wasn't one or the other.
But it was for me because I could only afford one game.
Like, I don't know, but like I only ever owned like Spyro 3, I think, out of all Crash and Spyro games. But I did somehow manage to play both trilogies, and like same with the people who are like, well, I picked to play all the Ratchet and Clank games. Fuck Jack and Daxter. It's like no one at PlayStation was sitting there going, "You must choose one."
But also, Ratchet and Clank are way better than Jack and Daxter, right?
Yeah,
they're just better games.
So it is just Nasty Nork, and I can't remember why. Like, is it as a kid? I used to think it was Gnasty Gnork, or was it a meme that people call it Gnasty Gnork? I don't know. But it's Nasty Gnork.
One thing I do know about the Spyro games, though, is they had like a weirdly stacked cast for a PlayStation, like PS1 game. Like, wasn't the voice of Spyro someone famous?
No. Well, maybe we will, I guess, look into that. But I know that Elijah Wood in like the PS2 era.
It's Elijah Wood who did the voice of Spyro.
But that wasn't for the original trilogy. I don't think he was not, popular until Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, I presume.
He was like a child for a bit as well.
Yeah, we'll I guess find out if we see who was in the cast. But yeah, Nasty Nork has taken over 5 dragon homeworlds by trapping the other dragons in crystal and turning their horde of gems into an army of minions. It's one of those, classic things of the time of like, it's a 3D mascot platformer, go around, collect the little gems, you collect the big collectibles, which in this case is freeing the dragons.
And then that opens up a new world with more collectibles, and usually along the way you'll earn a new power or a new ability. And Lucas, what is your favourite like collectible in a collectathon game? Because I really like Wumpa Fruit.
Wumpa Fruit's pretty good, but
never explain why Crash wants it. He doesn't eat it. He's a bandicoot.
Yeah, and he does shoot them in rocket launchers as well. So
in later games, yeah.
Would presumably be that he's not eating it if he's using it as ammo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny that you say that though, Carl, because I know that you mentioned to me in the past that you find it really frustrating when games make up fake game names for what is just a real world item of like, oh, it's just an apple, right? But they're like, oh, it's Wumpa Fruit.
But I like Wumpa Fruit because that could be a different kind of fruit. We don't know.
It
just looks like an apple. I always thought Wumpa Fruit looked really tasty.
You can't tell me that the cuckoos in Zelda are just called chickens and then tell me that Wumpa Fruit are just called Wumpa Fruit.
I think it's because as a kid, Wumpa Fruit always looked really nice. It always looked like it'd be really tasty. Like, it looks so juicy. It looks like the juiciest peach you've ever seen. Like, you have to eat that shit over a bucket.
I do like the rare collectibles, and the ones in my brain are the Banjo-Kazooie ones because I played them more, but just a lot of rare collectibles back in the day are like inanimate object with big googly eyes on them. And it's like, okay, rare. Like, there's so many like character designs and item designs and stuff in those old like N64 rare games that are just something with googly eyes.
And here's the thing as well. So, what is your favorite? Would you say it's the rare collectibles?
Probably. Maybe I'm pretty sure like the Jiggies have eyes. I'll have a look.
Because I was going to then ask, what's your least favorite? And I know you're going to say it's either one of two things. It's either Riddler trophies or feathers.
No,
And
no,
which one's
no.
worse? What's worse, Riddler trophies or feathers? You
I'll-
think there's a worse collectible than feathers or
I
Riddler
know
trophies?
there's a worse collectible. It's a different rare collectible, and it's
Which
the
is?
DK64 bananas, because there was 5 playable characters, and they were all coloured differently, so that only the right character could pick up the right collectible.
Yeah, DK64 is like infamous, right? Of like to 100% that game takes like 60 hours or something.
It is, I believe, to this day, still got the Guinness World Book of Records record for the most collectibles in any video game, and people realised we've gone too far.
But it's like just having the most doesn't mean they're the biggest pain in the ass.
No, but having to reset the level, change character,
Yeah, that's it.
come back in as a different character to go hunt down that collectible in the level and pick it up as the right coloured character.
I can see why that'd be
Absolutely fuck
frustrating.
off. No, the Jiggies don't have eyes. I'm trying to think, like, the different collectibles. Okay, so that's it. There's a Jiggy artwork spirit in Super Smash Bros. Where they do have eyes on them. That's
Okay,
where
so
I'm getting confused. So
presumably it's just asleep when you catch it.
maybe, yeah, maybe it just hasn't woken up.
Then here's one as well. Okay, then. Speaking of like mascot characters, which mascot has the best noise? Because like every mascot character has like that noise. Like for Crash Bandicoot, it's like the whoa, like his whoa.
I mean,
Oh,
that
you
might
have,
be
like,
the
the-
top tier one.
For like Banjo, it's the yeah,
Well, that's Banjo, right? But I
Banjo,
love the
yeah.
Kazooie noises.
which
Like
is
the hoi, hoi, or like I
There's some
can't
good
make the
ones,
noises very well, but I do love the Kazooie noises specifically.
alternate. We just have Mario's like. Always love that noise that Mario does.
I always find it funny because it always cuts out on Discord.
But yeah, like it'll show up in the edit.
Yes, it will. For the audio listeners, not for the YouTube watchers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's
But
just
yeah, the Ukulele was obviously a lot of like ex-Banjo developers and Robertson McNaughton in chat says like the pages have eyes in Ukulele, and Ukulele, because it was basically a bunch of old Banjo developers, they were just taking the piss out of everything they used to do in Rare games. So they were just like, hey, do you remember when we used to put eyes on everything? It's like, yeah, we're doing the same. And
makes it creepy. I don't
Ukulele.
like that the world's watching me.
But coming back to Spyro the Dragon, it's
Yes.
an open-ended 3D platformer featuring large sprawling levels in which the player must locate collectible items, among which are gemstones, crystallized dragons, and stolen dragon eggs. And the dragon eggs aren't necessarily memorable, but the egg thieves are. You must know about the egg thieves in Spyro.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't played them, you still kind of know about them, right?
Yeah.
And just the idea of just like, oh, these egg thieves, and they just sprint like as fast as Spyro can sprint away from you, and it's really frustrating. And then I always like to think the Pokemon Excelgor looks just exactly like an egg thief from Spyro.
Well, here's the thing. I don't mind that trope in video games if they can design the enemy well enough where you can't tell that it's cheating the system. And there's a hilarious example of this in, of all things, Last of Us. So doing Last of Us 2, you chase Nora through the building as Ellie.
Vaguely.
And like but you chase her down and like she's like taunting Ellie the entire time.
Right.
If you absolutely haul ass through that section and you shoot through a window and like jump through, Nora will run at like 400 miles an hour and teleport through the level because she has to get to the next
Because it's like rubber bands, basically.
Yeah. She has to get to the next trigger. But it's so funny because it's such a realistic game otherwise, just to see her run really fast.
Yeah.
How does she ever get caught?
I always like doing the opposite, though, in games where when games tell you to like chase a character or to make sure that you like escape in time and stuff, I like going as slowly as possible to see what happens.
Just to see.
Because some games will just insta-fail you and just trigger something like that.
Crash Bandicoot will. Trying to away from that boulder.
A lot of the time, video games will have a character, say, a set distance away from you, so that while you're running, they're always, keeping that same amount of head.
I think
Till
Eggman
the
does
cutscene
that
gets
right
triggered.
in Sonic games.
What game?
Eggman does that in Sonic games. Right? When you chase Eggman, he always just stays a set distance away from Sonic.
A little bit ahead of you, yeah. But some games, they will literally be tied to your position, so they will just kind of stop moving. And I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but there are times where I just do it and just, oh, there isn't a fail trigger. They just stop moving and kind of just wait for you to start again.
Yeah, and like the best example, it's like one of the easy ways to tell if the people making the game are on it, where if while you're running, you always just make it.
Yeah.
If you absolutely haul ass the entire time, you just make it. And I think Mario games are good at this, where those early Mario games, if you run at top speed, you will always make every jump just exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Exceligor, yeah.
Well, that's not. Just for people who that's the egg thief in Spyro, but and that's Excelgor from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me. Like
It's very
combine the little like egg and then the design. It's like obviously it is just a person like in wraps basically, but just especially like the blue color scheme with like then the pink kind of looks like the pink eggs, and I'm like yeah,
it's very similar.
It is indeed.
I was going to say the other example I was going to mention as well is another mascot we didn't talk about, and that's Rayman Legends. Do you know the musical levels?
Oh god,
I
yes.
think they are such good examples of just flawless level design and how to get your mechanics to feel so satisfying. Because when you run through those musical levels, it always feels like you are just on the cusp of dying.
Yeah.
But that you will stay exactly in time with the music, and it's fantastic. Those levels are amazing.
Yeah, and I do remember trying that similarly, and I'm pretty sure that the game does a good job of like keeping you in rhythm. I can't remember exactly how, because it's been a long time since I played them, but those musical levels from Rayman are some of the best platformer levels I've ever played.
Yeah. To the point where, like, I think you had one, and it's just you had the demo or something at your house, and every time someone came around, you'd put that level on to show them.
There was like a demo really early on the Wii U for Rayman Legends, and it had the Black Betty level at the end of the demo. And just every now and then I'd be like, okay, Nintendo Land's great, but let me just show you this. I know, because like my mind was blown for a solid like 6 months.
Yep.
Where every time someone who I knew I hadn't shown that demo to, they'd just come around, we play some like Nintendo Land or whatever other Wii U game, and I'd be like, just play this level with me on Rayman Legend. But yeah.
Such a good example. That's like, a Rayman, another platform mascot who kind of just went away. He got replaced by the Rabbids of all things.
That's the weird thing out of all of Rayman, that the things that survive the longest has been the Rabbids.
And it's purely because of the minions. If Despicable Me didn't exist, Rabbids wouldn't be popular.
I don't agree. I think they were kind of like popular back on the PS2. They had a bunch of games, right? Which was pre-Minions.
They were pre-Minions, but Minions' success encouraged them to keep putting the Rabbids in things.
Maybe, yeah, but they definitely were selling games that were just Rabbids games before Despicable Me even came out.
I'll never understand how they did, because the Rabbids are fucking awful designs.
They're just...
I didn't play that XCOM Mario game because you had to have a Rabbid on your team, and their designs are so ugly, I refuse to play it.
I stopped playing that first one because I just got too infuriated by the Rabbids.
Yeah, the designs are just viscerally off-putting.
But I guess, like, Spyro the Dragon isn't necessarily, like, I don't know, strongest mascot design, but it's definitely not off-putting, that's for sure.
No, it's fairly cute. It translates well to both, like, a cutesy small design, or when they try to do the classic thing all platformers did, get a bit edgy. You can also age him up a little bit, give him bigger horns, make him fly, and give him like his mini Super Saiyan power up.
Fair credit to Insomniac Games for that original trilogy. They had a lot of restraint with Spyro. They more fleshed out Spyro by, you could end up getting a couple of extra abilities like a supercharge and actual flight rather than gliding, but they never gave him all that like Super Saiyan bullshit in those games. They more expanded the cast of playable characters than just over-designing Spyro.
Yeah, but there probably is like an over-designed Spyro game on the PS2 somewhere that I've never played.
There's many. There's like points where Spyro himself goes into like fucking many different Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan forms with godlike powers and all this bullshit, but
meanwhile Crash Bandicoot just got a bigger rocket launcher.
Yeah. That was very much like later than the first trilogy Spyro game. But then obviously we can't mention Spyro without mentioning Skylanders as well.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause
shame. Like, what? Who was the idiot at Disney who could have bought Skylanders? Was it? I'm sorry, Nintendo's could have bought Skylanders,
Nintendo
right?
could have bought them, yeah.
Yeah, they
Or
got offered by Skylanders, and they went no.
they got offered to be the publisher of Skylanders at very least,
Like,
yeah.
and have exclusive rights to use the Skylanders technology, right?
And then they were like, no, we think we'll take a pass on this one. Like, ended up going with Activision. Activision were then like, yes, and we're gonna milk the fuck out of this till it's bone dry.
Imagine if Skylanders would have been a Nintendo property. We'd still be seeing it now.
And yeah, it's very weird because the first game from Skylanders was Skylanders Spyro's Adventure because they wanted to attach Spyro as an IP to this game they didn't think would do that well, necessarily. But if it did, you know,
Fairly
risk
common
that
trope,
paid
right?
off.
That's how that Star Fox game got made, right? It was going to be like, is it that weird fox girl the furries love? It was going to be like a single standalone game, and Miyamoto came and went make it a Star Fox game.
Yeah, like I can't
Crystal
remember
or something.
exactly the story, but Dinosaur Planet was the original pitch for N64, and then that turned into Star Fox Adventures somewhere down the
Put Star
line.
Fox in it.
Yeah, that's why it's like, who the fuck is this lizard guy that we're fighting, and who's this crystal character, and who's Trippy, the dinosaur, and all this? It's like, none of that was Star Fox, it was just the remnants of this Dinosaur Planet game. But yeah, just very funny to see that it was like, we need Spyro for Skylanders, and then by Skylanders 2, they were like, who the fuck's Spyro? Who gives a shit?
Who's this goober? You almost feel bad for him, right? It's like,
I feel really bad for Spyro, and even worse in the sense that the Reignited trilogy came out. Crash got a reboot, go back to Crash 4, and Spyro never did.
nope. I think Crash Bandicoot he's the better mascot because he's just more easily actually, Spyro is more easily merchandisable, but Crash is he's easier to sell.
I think so, because
he's so much more simple. You don't have to sell a story when you sell Crash games.
Yeah, you just
kids
pull
don't
out the
have to
memes
understand
going,
the story.
whoa!
Yeah, kids don't have to understand the story. They just know he's the funny Bandicoot who makes the silly faces. So I say Crash slowly directly interact with the camera. I know Spyro would talk to the player, but just something about on that like Hog Wild level where Crash turns around and gives you the eyebrow raise when he sees the pig. He's like,
And then
just jumps on the pig. It's like, yeah, you go, Crash.
The way that he does that, it hasn't got the best optics looking back at it. Just the expression that Crash pulls is not the expression of like, hey, watch me ride this hog. It's like, oh, watch me ride this hog, Carl.
It's still one of the funniest things, though. I also love the theme song. I think the music for Crash is a bit better as well. It's certainly more memorable because it's so unique.
I think the Spyro music at the time was very unique, but it just was more kind of ambient noise. Like,
yeah, it's like generic fantasy music sort of thing, whereas Crash had like the steel guitar, the twangs of that, and
I still think
the drums.
Spyro's music was very memorable, but I just don't think it was as upbeat as Crash Bandicoot's because it was meant for like, hey, Spyro's a bit more chill, explore, go find the dragon, whereas Crash is like breakneck pace. So I just think
that opening like steel guitar twang at the one, like, and then it's like I think it's the marimba that they play, like the and they say breakneck, like action straight away, like the world is exploding, there are cardboard boxes everywhere.
Whereas Spyro's is way more like the vibes and come and explore this world. And it is funny that it says that they're like open-ended, large, sprawling levels, and they were for the time.
Yeah, PS1 games they were.
But it's very funny where I played the first few levels, and the first few levels are obviously a little bit shorter. But I did play those first couple of levels and was like, oh, okay, this is basically like one field here, another field here, and two branching corridors down that way for some secret.
To be fair, that's a Call of Duty map.
And it is, but it's just, I remember the levels feeling so large and explorable when I was a kid. And obviously, again, the first world levels are a bit smaller, but compare what we think of as a large sprawling level now to like the PS1 standard of the first game, it's a stark difference.
It is, but it's still impressive for the time.
Very much.
That's always
so,
the
yeah.
important thing. You have to look at it from the perspective of those people, a person viewing it from back then.
And it is and it isn't, because Super Mario 64 existed for 2 years before
It did,
Spyro
yeah.
came out.
Which is the gold standard, right? And nothing could top that.
No, and like compared to Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 and a few other games of their ilk, Spyro did have much smaller stages, but yeah, it gave that illusion of a large sprawling level for a PS1.
Yeah, like we talked about this in the past. If I think Nintendo get a pass on everything. So I mentioned this of folks at home, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think Nintendo are the only company where they can genuinely get away with just saying Nintendo Magic. And it's not like advertising spiel, it literally is. Like when they use the phrase, it's Nintendo Magic to describe something. How does the Wii work? Nintendo Magic.
It does feel like the only company where they can say that and it hasn't yet fallen apart, right? Where they used to be, oh, well, we thought that Anthem would just come together because of BioWare Magic. And it's like, clearly BioWare Magic is fucking bullshit because Anthem was not
that,
great.
Right? Yeah, Nintendo as a company have earned that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned this if when Nintendo came out and introduced the Amiibo, they said it works via Nintendo Magic and everyone just rolls with it. But if Sony came out and said, "Ooh, the Sony VR works from Sony Magic," people in the audience were like, "No, fuck off! Tell us what the specs are."
The only time it works is when you're playing Astrobot. And you're
Magic.
putting together the PS5, and it's still the components of the PS5 simplified, but it's like, oh man, now we're gonna put the GPU back in, and look how sparkly and cool it is, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah.
See, the thing is though, the only reason that's not I'm now picturing a world. Did you remember Sneak King, that Burger King mascot platformer? Mm-hmm. If Sneak King had the level design, if Hideo Kojima worked on it, would Sneak King have been a good game if the levels worked? Astro Bot is essentially just celebrating PlayStation, right? It's selling you on the PlayStation, but it's trying to make you excited to see a PlayStation, the thing that you've got on your TV stand already.
And that's why I really want them to do a PC port of Astrobot. Or to be fair, they have such a bad naming convention with the Astro games. Astro's Playroom was the tech demo we won on the PS5, I think.
Yeah, it's the one that all PlayStation 5s come pre-installed with.
Yeah, and
I highly recommend it. If anyone just skipped over it to play Call of Duty or something, go play it.
One of the best playable experiences on the PS5 still.
Yeah,
it's only a couple of hours, but another fantastic 3D game.
It takes advantage of the PlayStation's new systems and features, which no other game has.
Astro's Playroom and Astrobot are the only two games I've played on the PS5 where I've genuinely gone, oh my god, the DualSense is amazing technology.
Yeah, instead of it just being a thing you hold to change episodes of TV shows on Netflix.
Or to tire out your fingers while you're swinging on Spider-Man and you turn the adaptive triggers off. But I just down to development here, Carl.
Go for it.
So, Spyro the Dragon was the second game developed by Insomniac Games, following their first game, Destructor, in December 1996. I don't remember
Not familiar.
Yeah, okay. Although Destructor was a commercial failure, its positive critical reception was enough to impress.
Let's have a look though. We keep going through development. I'll look it up. Maybe I do recognise it.
And it encouraged the team to continue with their next endeavour. The idea of a game about a dragon was introduced by Insomniac artist Craig Stitt. He suggested the concept out of his own interest in the mythical creature. Initially, the game's tone was far darker and more realistic. Think about this, Carl. The Dark Knight hadn't come out for another 10 years, and they were still you know what, make it gritty and dark.
Here's the thing, though. How many games have been saved by removing their dark and gritty aesthetic? You think of Borderlands as the most famous one.
Yeah.
The initial reveal of Borderlands was this slate grey, baby shit brown mess.
It was just
first reveal.
Brown mush the game, right?
Yeah, it's it looked like any one of the dozen other grey mushy shooters on PlayStation and Xbox. It looked like Rage or Haze or anything like that. And they went, you know what? Make it colourful.
Do you remember the game that did the opposite of that, Carl?
Which was?
Do you remember the game Fuse?
No.
So, I'll have to look this up.
Oh wait! Oh god, that looks awful.
Yeah, and it
That
came
looks
out.
like a graphics card cover.
It does, right? And the first trailer for the game Fuse, I think it might have been called Fuse the entire time, or it might have gotten a rename at some halfway through development. But the first trailer was like this over-the-top, almost like Pixar-esque, wacky shooter kind of vibe with like loads of cool powers being shown off and like a really fun, colourful, artistic style.
Okay.
And then Fuse comes out and is like generic. I should say graphics card cover the game.
That's
And
a shake. That's
it
it's
removed
never
like
worked.
all semblance of any personality. And was it Insomniac?
It's Electronic Arts.
No, it's Insomniac.
No, but EA published it. Sorry.
Yeah, but I thought it was. I didn't want to say it at the time, but yeah, Insomniac Games made it, and it was like, look how bright and colourful this is going to be. And then it was grey generic co-op shooter the game.
It's never worked.
And that game
it's wild.
Died on its ass.
They all do.
And like, bear in mind, this is Insomniac Games, and that game died on its ass. Not many of their games, other than Disruptor and Fuse, do that.
It's one of those things where it has never worked. It's like we mentioned, like the glut of like crappy character mascot games, trying to be like, oh, this is going to be the one. PS3 and Xbox 360 era, like it was the era of the sludgy first-person, third-person shooter, trying to be Gears of War.
And that's like,
and all of them died on their ass.
I'd much rather live in a world where we've got like Brock and Gex and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger and like, you know, obviously even like Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter, who did it more successfully but have still gone away, and Banjo-Kazooie and Conker and all this sticky stuff, and they all like had slightly different vibes, but they were all like silly to an extent. I'd much rather that than like here's 20 different Killzone copies.
It's like they've got some visual identity and flair to them. So Gex sexually harassed women. That's something, right?
I didn't know.
He's a sexually harassing lizard. It's not a good character trait, but at least it's a character trait. What can you tell me about the main character of Fuse?
Shit.
Yeah. What can you tell me about the main character of Haze? What about oh god. Oh, like actually, I was gonna say Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm had character and personality, but I'll never forget the story our mutual friend told of his brother who played it like Call of Duty and refused to engage with any of the mechanics.
And then did Bulletstorm get like
Duke
Nukem in it or something like that?
Yeah, I think they got Duke Nukem as like a bonus character. Duke Nukem should come back.
No.
Duke
no,
on this.
No.
Duke Nukem needs to come back, but it needs to come back.
If you're talking it's coming back as like a re-evaluation of character tropes back in the day, then fair enough. But like, if it is just you want Duke Nukem as he was in the 90s, then no.
No, I want him to come back as he was in the 90s, because the thing people don't often realise about Duke Nukem is that he was wildly progressive for such an edgy, try-hard character made in the 90s, where he had his own autobiography, and you can find snippets of it throughout the game world. And in it, he says like, oh, some people decide to change gender, sex, and I'm okay with that. And he's completely fine with it, and he hates racists and stuff like that. He's super progressive. He's just a bit of a dinosaur. And I think you could play with that.
He is still a massive misogynist, though.
Yeah, make him into a himbo. Like, make him Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is either bring him back as he was to take the piss out of, like, those outdated elements, or bring him back in a different way. Yeah. But don't bring him back just as he was.
Or bring him back as, like, a fucking loser.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, like, take the piss out of that kind of character if you bring him back as he was. But, kind of a little bit related to Duke Nukem is like Mark Cerny, who, recently just demonstrated the PS5 Pro's definitely wanted and needed features.
Which has no disc. Sony's not going to be happy till you don't have one of those, right? They're going to make it so you got to fax them to get a disc tray.
Oh, the same with Xbox, right? Both of them seem to be making that portion. dear God, Nintendo, whatever the Switch successor is, like, keys, just continue to give us a console with a cartridge slot, please.
It's what we talked about on like yesterday's stream, right? Like Nintendo is going to be like the Steam of Nintendo does nothing. Opponents repeatedly slam dick in car door. What is this business strategy called, and why does it work so well?
But yes, Mark Cerny was an executive at Universal Interactive Studios and Spyro the Dragon's game producer, or one of the game's producers, maybe. But he advised that the team create a game with more mass market appeal as the demographics of the PlayStation were decreasing and its selection of children's titles were greatly outnumbered by the Nintendo 64s.
Which is the thing, like you must look over and just see Nintendo eating your dinner, and it's like,
But
what are they doing? We look and go, what are they doing? It's like, oh, they put colourful, fun characters that people actually want to spend time with. What is this mysterious tactic?
But like at the time, PS1 was outselling Nintendo 64 like 3-4 to 1.
It was, but like their children's offerings were still
They were not
right?
great, and obviously it's like, okay, we're getting a good slice of the pie, but we could take more of the pie from Nintendo, so make more kid-friendly games, right?
The kids don't like Wipeout. They don't like Techno.
They don't like Duke Nukem.
No, I love Duke Nukem.
Well, I was going to say, actually, a lot of kids like Duke Nukem probably more than the adults did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember back in the day when I was about 10 and, one of my friends was like, oh my God, like, my parents let me get Duke Nukem. Should we all, like, go and play it in the bedroom and, like, maybe they'll like make a joke about women's boobs or poop or something. It'll be super adult.
I've always read him as being. I never played the Duke Nukem Forever, so maybe like the character's been saved. But I always read him as like.
I don't think Duke Nukem Forever has saved anything.
No, what I mean is like he was saved for me. If I always read him as and remember him as being like Johnny Bravo.
I don't think he was.
Like an exaggerated stereotype. But maybe like
I think he was an exaggerated stereotype in just a very straightforward fashion, not in like a meta commentary. I think
maybe it's one of those things. Hey, do you know what that's an avenue for, Lucas? The new gaming channel we want to launch. If we get enough support on Patreon, we're going to do that series Rough on Replay. Maybe Duke Nukem's a game I can go back and maybe I'll look and go, oh no,
how rough is Duke Nukem?
At all.
How rough is it to go back to Duke Nukem? Because both of us don't remember very well.
Yeah, we seemingly have conflicting memories of what Duke Nukem was like.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's a Mandela effect almost.
For one of us, at least.
Yeah.
Or just bad memory.
Yeah.
But, just going back to Spyro, according to the programmer Peter Hastings, the dragon character was originally going to be named Pete.
Pete the Dragon.
Because Pete the Dragon.
When we talk about pets, isn't it? You can either give him a silly name or just a normal name, and both work. Pete the Dragon.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not Pete the Dragon, but Spyro was going to be called Pete the Dragon. But I was thinking the Disney film is just Pete the Dragon, but it's not. It's Pete's Dragon.
Yeah,
and that's why they didn't name him Pete, because they were concerned about copyright with Disney.
Presumably as well, like Puff the Magic Dragon for the same reason.
It doesn't say here that they were going to call him Puff at any point. But isn't Puff the Magic Dragon isn't that?
It's a children's song.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's like a comedian that sings Puff the Magic Dragon. And he's like this bad comedic magician. And yeah.
I think all comedy magicians are bad. You don't have to clarify that he's bad. Just say he's a comedy magician, I'll understand that. He's probably not very good.
The only reason I'm aware of them is because they had an opening. What gig was it? Was it Mumford and Sons? And they had them open the gig as Puff the Magic Dragon, the magician. And I'm sat
wait. That guy's legit.
No, but he's not legit when I saw him, because I was up in the rafters of an arena and they had no.
I know what you mean.
They had no help with hearing or seeing him. I was just watching a guy perform magic on a stage from 1 mile away.
I know who you mean now, and he's the guy who dressed in a dragon onesie.
Yeah.
So his gimmick is that he's a dragon, but he just doesn't. He's super. What's the word now? Not mundane. Blasé. Right. He's very dry, and he never draws attention to the fact that he's dressed like a dragon. That's his gimmick. He's actually really good.
I thought
you meant like he was a comedy dragon, like he was singing or something like that, trying to do a comedy routine.
No, but I think he did sing or came onto stage with Puff the Magic Dragon or something. But I've not seen that guy apart from, like, as I say, a mile away in the fucking rafters at
That doesn't work then, yeah.
and like, why have you got that as an opening act for a fucking musical or
That doesn't.
like
That's probably a
arena
bad call.
tour?
He's a good magician. That's the thing. I know that he's a very, very talented magician.
Okay. Okay.
That he's not trying to be a comedian and a magician and sucking at both. He's a very talented magician with a comedy gimmick.
Okay.
Also, you mentioned Mumford and Sons. I just burst out laughing because I remember that meme where it's just a picture of like, hey, remember where like there was that for 1 year there was that music genre where all the guys dressed like they bartended at a burger restaurant and it was called like Stomp Clap Hey Ya and it sucked shit. And it's just that's Mumford and Sons, right? No, he's Piff. He's Piff the Magic Dragon.
Oh, it's Piff the Magic Dragon. Okay.
I saw him on Penn and Teller's Fool Me, and he fooled Penn and Teller.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Which means you know he's legit.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up then. I want to see a performance of him where he's not this tiny dot that I can't hear or see.
Can you imagine? I think the worst experience of watching a magician is like a mile up in the rafters. Like, okay, can everyone see this card? No.
And they didn't even have like the screen set up or anything yet. And it's like, no, I can't see what's going on, Piff. I can't comprehend you from like just. I was literally in like. I got the cheapest seat ever, and it was like basically like, do you want to go see them for free? Because it was like on a complete horizontal, like 90 degrees angle to the stage on like the back corner.
So that's the right price to pay for a Mumford and Sons gig.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I went and saw them for either their first or second album when they were still like at least committed to the bit of going on tour with all of like the all of the actual instruments they need for stomping and clapping. Whereas the third album was just like, should we just become a generic rock band so we don't have to tour with like 50 people?
It's because the lead singer as well got a real ego about the fact people coming to see him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this. It's like Imagine Dragons, where I think the most brutal review of Imagine Dragons is Imagine Dragons are a band that exclusively makes music for bank adverts.
And to be fair, like American car adverts as well, like the big like the classic like is it the Gran Canaro or whatever in Simpsons?
Canyonero. That's a good song though.
But the modern equivalent would definitely be Imagine Dragons playing for that.
So I think the most recently it was like the intro to Arcane is so good and so well animated. I don't mind listening to Imagine Dragons to watch it. You know, as well, League of Legends have like 2, if not 3, like VI bands where it's their characters are in the band.
Yeah, because they got Cayde, right?
Yeah. And then they've got another one, Pentakill, which is a metal band. And the Pentakill are actually pretty fucking legit because they get actual musicians and they just get their characters to sing over it.
Mm-hmm. I really liked the couple of songs from, I think it's Cayde, they're like K-pop style.
Yeah, they're actually super legit. Why didn't they get them in? You own that band. Get them. You don't have to pay them. You own them. They're your characters.
I guess like that might be a bit weird using like bands with characters from that video game in the video game animation
series. Jinx says "Get Jinxed."
Okay,
which is the song where her character sings.
Ignore me then. Oh dear. But after the name Pete the Dragon was scrapped, they considered using the name Pyro. Which was ultimately considered too mature, so then they just settled on Spyro.
Spyro's a good name, because it's like, I say the word Spyro, it conjures up 2 things, Pyro, fire, and Spiral, which is horns are curly. It's actually very evocative of what like Spyro as a character has. Like, he has these curly horns, and he breathes fire. It's actually a really clever name.
It is, but it is funny. Just like, fuck, we can't use the name Pyro. Like, it's too mature, apparently. And someone just walked up to the whiteboard, just put a big S in front. It's like,
job done. Let's go to a pub.
Exactly. And the in-game dialogue was written by Peter Kleiner, and Spyro's character was designed by Charles Zembillis, who had previously done design work on Crash Bandicoot. That does make sense. Like
Make them fight. Make
both,
them kiss.
they were both published by Universal back in the day, and yeah, I can. There's always been that like synergy of design between Crash and Spyro to the point of them having crossovers and stuff. Like
Make them kiss.
I'm sure plenty of people have. Just Google Spyro Crash Kiss. You're gonna come up with a lot of artwork.
Every now and again, I remember that fake Miyamoto tweet of I just googled Mario and saw Mario and Luigi kissing. Please don't do that. It always fucking sends me. Just the fake Miyamoto tweet.
And Spyro was originally going to be green, but the developers were worried he would blend in with grass, so they eventually changed him to purple, which is a very good shout.
Yeah. Oddly enough, you mentioned Crash, that's the reason he's orange. The reason he's orange is why there's no... They had to choose when they made him orange. If you make him orange, you can't do a lava level, and every platformer has to have a lava level. So they did an acid level instead.
Yeah.
That's why there's like the acid level with all the green, because by making him orange, he wouldn't stand out against a lava background.
And believe me, having a character with green trying to blend with a green background, I know the struggles of that. I can understand the pain and the struggles involved.
So I'm just going to make note of this, that you're doing this. Lawyers have been contacted. The fact-feeding lawyers.
Oh dear. If only I was like listed as an employee, not as a contractor for fact-feeding. So damn.
I can sue the fuck out of you now. What are you going to do?
And during the development of Spyro, Insomniac had a very close relationship with Crash Bandicoot creator and fellow PlayStation developer Naughty Dog, who had the office located directly across the hall from theirs.
It's when you hear stuff like this, right? It's like
explains a lot.
Like Harada, like the lead designer on Tekken, his office was opposite Sakurai's, and apparently, like Tekken people would often be found missing work to go play Smash Bros. And vice versa. Like Sakurai would come over and play Tekken, and he'd go over and play Smash Bros.
Yeah, because like the Wii U, 3DS, and Ultimate were all like co-developed by Bandai Namco, right?
Yeah, like their offices are literally opposite each other.
And yeah, just the developers would frequently work together, playing early builds of each other's games and like sharing game technology. And as a result, a demo of Crash Bandicoot Warped was hidden in Spyro, and vice versa. And
I miss when games did that.
I do, but I can't. Was it Spyro that had all of Crash Bandicoot Warped in the demo? Or like I can't remember which demo it was. Or was it Crash Bash's demo, where you entered a cheat code and it was just the entire game was in there?
It might be. There's a few games that they've done. Like
there is.
Talked about Animal Crossing in the past, right? Where it just has entire like NES games in there and stuff, right?
But that was on purpose.
On purpose.
But
maybe it's just, they might have been accidentally left the whole version in because the entire game only took a couple hundred meg.
It was one of those of it's easier to just put the entire game in to make sure that it works and then lock off levels than it is to create a chunk off demo where the rest of the game code isn't involved. So let us know, obviously, in the comments, just which game I'm thinking of. But fairly certain there was at least Crash Bash where this happened, where just you entered a code on your controller and just, the entire game's unlocked now. Especially would make sense with Crash Bash because the like 5 mini games are just looped in different arenas and stuff like that.
It's not a great game.
No.
It reminds me a bit of with the Dreamcast. Like apparently, like one of the last things. I don't know the exact story. Maybe we cover it on an episode about the Dreamcast. But there's some internal guy at Dreamcast who released like a bit of code. Right, and he calls it like Papa Sonic or something like that. It was effectively like the bit of code you needed to jailbreak a Dreamcast. And he either like revealed it in like it was on like a disc or something like that. That was revealed for the Dreamcast because they knew it was going to get like shit canned. So this rogue developer released like or hid away a bit of code that would allow you to jailbreak it.
Wow, absolute hero.
But I think they were called something like Papa Sonic or something like that. He's buried in somewhere, or maybe it's like inside the Dreamcast in update. I don't remember the exact details, but I know there's like some guy who just hid the code that would jailbreak the device inside of something that was revealed for it.
They just like those hidden heroes.
The accidental ones as well. Remember there was that like, random 3DS game where you could enter the developer menu by entering a cheat code or something because it was programmed poorly, and it let you access the developer mode of the 3DS.
Yeah.
So it very quickly became one of the best-selling games on the 3DS because if you got this game, enter this code, you could enter developer mode and jailbreak your 3DS within the console.
Oh dear. I mean, obviously, like they'll have updated those games and stuff. That's
They did,
the problem.
yes. So you had to get it and not go on to online.
That's the problem with like jailbreaking stuff that way nowadays, is that they'll just be like, well, if you've updated the latest firmware, that doesn't work anymore. It's like, god damn it, and there's no way to go back. But yeah, just to round things up here, just noted that on the reception of Spyro the Dragon, it got an aggregated score of about 85%, and that's an aggregator of game rankings. And then just some review scores. We got Computer and Video Games gave it 4 out of 5. Edge Magazine gave it 7 out of 10. EGM, Electronic Game Monthly, gave it 33.5 out of 40. Presumably they do like 4 people reviewed it and gave it a score out of 10. GamePro gave it 18.5 out of 20. GameSpot 8.3 out of 10. IGN 9 out of 10. Next Generation 4 out of 5 stars, and PlayStation Power 82%. So generally, like mostly
good to
like
great.
a 7 to 9 range, averaging like 5%. So
the best review ranking, I forget which website or magazine did it, where instead of numbers they just put a smiley face, and it was like however smiley the face is how much they enjoyed the game, because like they didn't want to rank things numerically. So it's like, rather than rank it numerically, just put a face that represents how much fun you had. So did you have fun playing the game? Yeah, okay, then put that. It's not about numbers, it's did you have fun? It's a video game. Someone will be able to tell us what it was. I remember like there was like one magazine that just didn't do numerical rankings, it just did smiley faces. I thought that was an interesting way of doing it, right? Because it forces people to read the review instead of just looking at the number and getting mad on YouTube.
I wonder, like, I do remember what you're talking about. I think it might have been EGM that changed it. Okay, yeah. I'm trying.
So I think that's a good way of ranking things.
Okay, so GamePro definitely had like smiley face fun factor as part of their scale.
There you go. That's all you need. Did you have fun? Yes. Okay, done. Would you want to know what I thought? No, did you have fun?
But yeah, I'm fairly.
I guess in the age of reviews online as well, like it's even more useful now because once you've like consumed enough content by a creator, hopefully you'll be able to tell whether or not that creator's opinions generally align with your own. You can see like your taste probably align in certain ways. That would be a very good shorthand, a better shorthand in my opinion than a numerical ranking.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I always think about, like video game reviews, is that, well, if you pay enough attention to care about video game reviews, I always think that the best way to do it is find a few people that do review games that you're interested in and do generally align with most of your opinions on games, and then pay attention to what they say, because okay, like IGN for example, that's fine, like looking at an IGN review, but there might be what, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 different people at IGN that review games. You don't know that your opinion does or doesn't align with each individual person.
Yep.
But yeah, either way, I also, don't want people sitting here and talking shit about game reviewers. Oh, they just get paid off. It's like, anyone just piss off.
Some people just have different opinions.
Yeah.
It's like there's plenty of things that are, considered to be very good that I don't like. And there are plenty of things that are considered to be very bad. That conversely, I do quite like.
And it's always very funny because you can't win either way, because
yeah,
when a game comes out and every single review site gives it basically the same score, everyone's like, well, they all clearly got paid off to give the exact same score. And then the moment you see a couple of outliers on a popular game, it's like, well, this person clearly is just an asshole who doesn't like the game and is voting it down. It's like, which one do you want?
Yeah, and you do get occasions. There are people out there who want to be contrarian. Likewise, there are people who just give unrelentingly positive coverage because they want to continue having access. Those people are called YouTubers.
Generally speaking, more than like actual people who are journalists and have spent a career building up a catalogue of writing experience and stuff to become game reviewers. Normally, the people who are just one way or the other are YouTubers trying to either.
Well, that's what always fascinates. It's always YouTubers who criticize journalists, but the YouTubers are the ones who will immediately second one sell out their principles for money.
Yeah.
Whereas like journalists generally adhere, if you're working for a decent enough publication, you will have to adhere to journalistic like ethical standards.
And yes, there are
such as not plagiarizing or
there are once in a blue moon examples of that guy that was just hired by IGN who plagiarized a bunch of stuff, but like the amount of examples of that happening on any gaming publication compared to the amount of times where no, they are just people doing their job is like almost impossibly small.
Well, you can compare that to the amount of YouTubers who've like done something that is not necessarily ethical, or have for example, promoted something without declaring that they're promoting something.
Or just, sold out their opinion.
Did you know, like, one recently is like, I forget, is it Marky, like, Brownlee, or something like that? He's the dude.
Marcus Brownlee,
That's it, yeah. Like, recently he did, like, a sponsored video for, like, a camera. And in his video, you see him going 95 miles an hour in a school zone. And then he edited that footage out because everyone's like, wait, why are you going 95 in a 35? What the fuck? And it's for a sponsored video.
Holy fuck.
And they've edited that out and put, I edited out some footage that wasn't relevant to the clip.
They're
going to get away with that. And no one's going to ever mention that ever again. Right? That happened like yesterday, I think.
I did not see that one, but yeah.
Well, no, you know, because they've edited out.
Because
Lucas.
literally
if a journalist did that, they'd be called out. A journalist would not be allowed to edit a source or a video without putting a note in that tells you what they removed and for what reason. A YouTuber can remove it and just make up whatever reason they want. Because
and just delete any comment they want that refers to the edit as well.
It's just like, example that sprung to mind for me of like, you couldn't do that if like a news organization, for example, generally couldn't get away with doing that. So like a news outlet, or even just like, a general interest or a specific interest, like an industry publication, like a trade magazine, like reviewing film or media, couldn't do that. At least not a good one.
Yeah, I think we can leave it there for our discussion. Spyro and game ratings and everything, but I guess just as I set up our break, Carl, it's a good time to mention that when we return from the break, people can hear all about Spotted Dick. Potentially.
They can hear about some Spotted Dick. So people want to hear all about some just like... Well, I'm going to give you a clue, Lucas. We can hear about Spotted Dick. We can also hear about some bangers and some clangers. You ready to hear about some bangers and clangers?
I'm not quite yet, because I need to just go grab a drink and take a quick break. But we'll be back in just a few minutes for everyone watching live. Hopefully for everyone listening and watching later, I've remembered to just edit it out. But for now... enjoy some large picture of Oreo.
That's the double stuffed Oreo right there.
We'll be back in a minute.
Are we back?
There we go. Sorry about that. Just...
It's alright. Everyone was enjoying the double stuffed Oreo. Potentially triple stuffed. Not quadruple stuffed, that's ridiculous.
That would be far too far, Carl.
It's too much Oreo.
Is it? Because that's the thing, have you had any of those ones where it's like not the double stuff, it's like the mega omega stuff and all that?
They're not stuffed enough.
What? The ones that are like the mega stuff?
Well, you try and split them apart and it just sucks. It's terrible. So it's like when you like open up like a sandwich from Tesco and it's all gets stuck to the fucking top. Like half your sandwich is stuck to the bread. It's like, ugh.
It's like I think the double stuff ones are pretty good, but then I don't know. There is a certain point where like
it's too much.
They go like the mega stuff, and then people are the mega stuff wasn't stuffed enough, and then it's like, okay, well the double mega stuff, and it's at some point it's just there's not enough biscuit to cream ratio.
It's the cookie equivalent of like that. I had a triple cheeseburger from McDonald's and it's awful. It's just there's not enough bread to meat ratio.
That's why the Big Mac works, right? Of like the bread in the middle to balance it out still.
Like scientists work, so like McDonald's has like flavor scientists who calculate the exact amount that should have. You can't slap another, but that's why like the Mega Mac and stuff never works, because it's the ratio's not right.
What was it? Where I can't remember. Was it an actual product or was it a meme or something where it was like the like 20 stack of patties and it was just that?
Oh, that was when McDonald's said you can make your own burger, and people like the internet just went hog wild, and it's like one of them was just called Girth, and it was just 10 patties. And my favorite is the Sad European, which is just bread and cheese.
Oh god!
And you've got the Saddish European, which is one slice of bread and then cheese, which I don't like because that's a hint to what I'm going to talk about for my wiki entry. We've got a bit of housekeeping, haven't we, Lucas?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Remind me of what housekeeping we've got.
We already talked about, Pet of the Week and which wiki won this week. But now we have, we also have a Patreon, a Discord, and we will have an announcement video at some point over the next few days, maybe weeks, depending on how long it takes us to finalize it. There'll be an update video going up that tells you our plans for the upcoming year.
And one of those plans is to have a tier where people will have their names in the background on this podcast, and just let us know in either the Discord or the comments here or the live chat here, just as we're going through. There's a couple of concepts that I've got so far, and I'll like divvy these up into like actual pictures or demonstrations or whatever. But thinking either, obviously we've got some amount of space and we can either utilize it.
Listeners, yeah.
It's going to work well for audio listeners. Go check it out on video if you're that bothered. Or skip
go to our Discord.
a minute for the explanation.
Go to our Discord.
But we've got this space here. We can do fill it out with a bunch of little names. We can have a couple of bigger names that maybe swap in and out, or maybe do it so that it's a video that kind of loops one name at a time and keeps it you can have more focus on your name, but they won't be on screen at all times. It'll loop through the names in the tier, and that way maybe you won't get as lost in the background as much, but then you won't get featured on screen for as long. It won't be the whole time, it'll be in and out. So let us know what you think.
There'll be some concepts. We're working on mocking up some concepts that I'll go up in the Discord for people to have their say on.
Yeah, I'll put up actual pictures for people to vote on the actual format at some point soon, just in the Discord, which is linked below. Yeah,
and at some point as well, we'll also be announcing some goals on our Patreon, which we've kind of hinted at throughout this throughout your entry on video games. We'll set up a gaming channel where we'll have rough on replay. Duke Nukem, I guess, is now going on the theoretical list. Right?
Yeah.
That's got to go on the list, I suppose, for one. But Luke, are you ready to talk about my wiki entry? Because I've been excited to talk about this one.
And yeah, obviously people might have seen the title for this one and be like, "What do you mean spotted dick? What is spotted dick, Carl?"
Well, spotted dick is an English pudding dish or English dessert dish for Americans, I suppose. So the wiki I brought for this week, Lucas, is simply list of English dishes. So these aren't British dishes; these are English dishes. So there's going to be no haggis on here.
That was my original pitch for the title is would a dragon eat haggis, and you're like, we're not doing British dishes, we're keeping it to just the most awful section of British food, which is English food.
Well, see, this is where I disagree. So I am a firm proponent of the fact that English and British food is quite good. The problem is that Americans meme on what is our version of comfort food. So beans on toast is one that Americans love making fun of. But to make fun of beans on toast with the equivalent of us as English people making fun of a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup.
But
it's just cheese and bread.
A really super basic grilled cheese.
Yeah. A grilled cheese and tomato soup, that's not a real meal. And the response from American when I've said that usually is, well, it's comfort food. It's what you make when you're sick, or it's what your mum makes, or it's a snack in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what beans on toast is. It's not, people aren't eating that for their main meal. Well, I did because I grew up fucking poor. That's why it also annoys me.
And I'm just saying, I don't think English food is actually bad. I agree with your sentiment here of a lot of the stuff people meme on is people food for poor people, you talking about the sad European of the single slice of cheese on a sandwich for your school dinner. That's because it's hard to, have multiple meals, like packed lunches for multiple kids every single day when you've not got that much money. Like, that's usually what that's because of. And
Also, when I see like Americans make fun of that, and I go look at what do American school lunches look like, and it's like a slice of pizza and a can of Coke. And it's like, really? We're all in the same boat here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it frustrates me.
I do think that out of, like, when I think traditional English dishes, and then some things that I've tried that are like Welsh dishes, Scottish dishes, or Irish dishes, generally I think English maybe has the weaker of the bunch.
Well, you know what? Let's find out. And let's go through what the English dishes are. So, first of all, the intro. So, this is the list of prepared dishes characteristic of English cuisine. English cuisine encompasses the cooking style, tradition, and recipes associated with England. It has distinctive attributes of its own, but also shares much with wider British cuisine, partly through the importation of ingredients and ideas from North America, China, and the Indian subcontinent during the time of the British Empire, and there is a result of post-war immigration. That's another thing as well. I contend as well, like, even if you don't like English food, I say that. So I've been to India, I've been to China. Chinese food and Indian food, even though Indian food encompasses like an entire continent, but like specifically, I think that my local Indian does like specifically Bangladeshi food. I contend like just it tastes better here.
I don't think that our Indians do an entire continent's worth of food though.
No, that's what I mean. By saying Indian food, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? It's like it's such a broad range of food.
Yeah. It's definitely not a continent. I just want to clarify to people, but yes, yeah.
So I believe a lot of English Indian dishes or Indian dishes prepared in English Indian restaurants will be from they're largely Bangladeshi.
I don't know enough to.
I wouldn't know enough
one way or the other. Yeah.
But they very frequently as well win awards. Like a lot of like British Indian restaurants win awards, as do British Chinese restaurants, and not British Italian. I guess Italians are probably better at making Italian food than we are, but
yeah, and I think like obviously a lot of places over here, not all, but a lot of places that are like Indian restaurants over here are owned by Indian people.
Exactly, that's the other thing as well. Where I remember seeing this discussion again. It was Americans. Like, do you know that the picture of like a English Chinese takeaway? We're just like, oh, it's the fried noodles, fried rice, and curry sauce. Like, what is this plate of brown? It's like, look at the bastardized way English people treat a Chinese food. It's like that's food from a Chinese restaurant. That is like, it's very westernized, but that is a Chinese restaurant owned by a Chinese family
who have made something for an English palate and changed recipes and stuff. Yeah.
But I've never been to a Chinese restaurant that didn't also do a numerous, obviously, altered to suit the ingredients available over here and the palates of the people buying them. But you can usually get stuff like, egg foo young or stuff like
that. Yeah.
And they'll make like more traditional dishes there. And if you go to like in Sheffield, for example, where I live, it has a quite big Chinese student population. So there are a lot of traditional Chinese restaurants that are very, very good.
Yeah.
And do very, very good food.
And yeah, it's one of those things of, I do agree that a lot of British people either cannot cook very well or are very lazy with their cooking.
Well, that's the thing. I love my mum. She is not the best cook. So we've talked in the past, right, when you said like, Mum, how do you get like our fruit, our vegetables on a Sunday lunch taste nice? She cuts more sugar. Or I talked to my mum and found out when she boiled her vegetables, she didn't even salt the water.
Okay, and that's not to dunk on my mum. That's more, just my mum did to make like bitter sprouts more palatable. But like, my mum is good cook, but
yeah, and there's certainly ways you can cook the ingredients that would be better than just sticking in a pan and boiling them.
Yeah, but it's one of those things of like, it's not that British meals and recipes and foods are bad, but I do agree that most people in England are bad at making them.
Yes. But I say that I think there's a street in Sheffield called London Road. And on that road, there are no less than 20 different cuisines that you can get. And I used to live on that road, and just every Friday, me and my roommates would just go to a different one of the restaurants. Like, oh, what do you want for this week? We're going to have Greek, we're going to have Vietnamese, we're going to have Jamaican food, West Indian, Chinese, we're going to go to the Indian restaurant. And they were all like, owned by and operated by people from that culture.
And yeah, I do agree that we've got like a good selection of different, like, authentic restaurants
Well,
and
they're not.
experiences and stuff over here, but authentic to an extent, right? To
Yeah.
the extent that like they are owned and made by like people of those countries and things, but
It's fusion food. If you call it fusion food, it sounds fancy,
yeah,
right?
true. But like at the same time, I think that a well-made like roast dinner, like traditional English or British roast dinner, or like a traditional British pie, like they, done well, those recipes are like fabulous.
Well, here's the thing as well. Like one of the best things I've ever eaten was fresh bread and fresh butter, like fresh creamy butter
And
in a
you're
restaurant
talking
I
like
used to work at.
proper baked, like fresh out the
Ate that
oven
morning,
bread, and like just freshly like churned and prepared butter, right?
just for context, I used to work in like a 5-star restaurant. And just the chef one day had made some fresh bread and had like the really expensive butter in because we're having like I think it was like David Blunkett, the politician, was in or something like that. And then he was hosting of Get, so they had like some pretty fancier than normal food in. And just, oh, do you want to try some of this like fancy butter? And it's like, it's the best thing I've ever eaten.
And like it's obviously a very not super fancy experience or anything, but it was always just that thing of like one of my favorite things to do with like my morning shifts at Nando's was like when all of the rolls are just getting taken out of the oven for the day, and you just walk into the kitchen, it just smells like a bakery for like half an hour, and you're like, oh yes.
Well, here's the thing as well. It's like I contend that like even if people say like British food isn't that good or English food, just say for this one, I contend that English desserts are better than American desserts, and this is on the whole because our ingredients tend to be fresher. And I don't mean that you can't get fresh ingredients in America, but the size of America means that it's very difficult, for example, to get fresh butter or fresh milk in some places. Whereas I don't think there's a single place in the UK where you can't go to your local shop and get butter, milk, eggs, and
Yeah,
flour.
it was kind of crazy watching. Can't remember what it was called now, but there was like a Netflix documentary about Aldi relatively recently, and it was talking about the fact that in the UK, every single Aldi store gets these ingredients delivered like fresh every day straight from farms.
Yep.
And you just can't, with the size of America, do that kind of thing. Generally,
In some places you can, but in others you
yeah,
can't. And
you
that's what I
can't
mean.
across
Like,
the whole country. Yeah.
so as a result, it is relatively easy for pretty much, I was going to say the vast majority of people in the UK, you can go and find a bakery that will have had fresh baked goods made that morning.
And bakery's probably a bit more ubiquitous to both places, right? Because a bakery, you can just bake it in your own bakery. But it's like, for example, I know I used to work at Krispy Kreme, and she said, well, either your store bakes them in store and is a bakery store, or they have bakery stores distribute fresh donuts to every other store, regardless of size, every day. Like, she was in a little pop-up store in Liverpool when she came to Liverpool and was like, no, we still get delivered like fresh baked donuts that are a couple of hours old every single day without fail.
Which is just an easier thing to do with the sides. Because, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, this is just a not incomplete list. Or it's an incomplete list of various English dishes. And Lucas, do you have like a favourite English dish? Because mine's beans on toast. That is my comfort food. Like, when I was a little kid, even like into my teenage years, even as an adult, when I'm like, I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself, I will make beans on toast again. So it just reminds me of being little.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, when my dad, just like when I was sick, he just made some beans on toast for me. Like a little bit of grated cheese on top. So it's my comfort food.
I don't have British food that often. Like, I cook a lot in my house pretty much nearly every day. I'm just home cooking. And I generally don't cook stuff like, but I'd say my favorite thing to cook is like a English dish that's just comfort food would probably be like pie and mashed potato.
And I'm talking like a good quality pie.
Yeah, of course. Like
with like fresh flaky pastry.
I sit there and I've got like a nice recipe for like a chicken cider pie. That's sit there, make it, and I'll use pre-prepared pastry that you put on the top, and then just like egg wash and put in the oven and stuff. But still comes out like nice and flaky and fresh. And then make my own like mashed potato, nice and like creamy and smooth and just, you know, even depending on how I've prepared it, may or may not, but usually do make like a nice homemade gravy with it from the chicken stock and stuff. Like, and just, yeah, that simplicity, if you do it well, is like delicious. Like,
It's I used to work in, like I said, a fancy restaurant, and I just learned very early on the secret to making anything taste nice is just lots of butter or fat.
butter
The
and
higher
salt.
quality, the fat, the better. So usually butter, because that's like generally like the best fat you can really get for cooking, and then salt.
Yeah,
And most
like,
British food, you can cook it with butter and salt. People make fun of us not using spices. I would take
and we
butter.
do.
Like, butter is still
I,
the best
God,
spice.
I saw something that really infuriated me, and it was somebody on TikTok. I could not credit them because it was just one that I like scrolled past within a minute, and I'd consumed 300 TikToks that day, so apologies.
Your daily recommended amount, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of food talk stuff, and it was just somebody being like, "Hey, I made like a traditional like English pie or something," and they threw in a bunch of like actual herbs and like, you know, onion and garlic and thyme and herbs and sort of like fresh. And because they didn't use any like dried pre-packaged seasoning, all the comments were like, "Lol, British people don't even season their food." It's like, no, I used actual fresh seasonings.
That is season. That's the thing that always gets me as well. It's like, oh, British people don't season. It's like we do, but the seasonings we use are generally not as strong flavored because, you know, our meals are more hearty. And it's like thyme is a seasoning.
Yeah, but it's
Like chicken
because
and thyme.
like so many comments were just
They didn't see them like doing like Americans do. They put like paprika on or whatever, right?
But it was just, you didn't use a dried seasoning like bottle and sprinkle it on the top, therefore you didn't season this pie. And it's like, what do you think seasonings and herbs and stuff are? Like,
There's one recently. It's like some lass was making some mac and cheese, and everyone's like moaning at it, like you've not seasoned it. It's like she has. She just hasn't done what someone on TikTok would do, put a shit ton of like stuff on that actually makes it taste terrible. Like sometimes just simple flavor profiles are what you want, right? That's why like people make for like the cheese sandwich, and it's like, well, sometimes you just want something simple, right? Sometimes you just want a cheese sandwich. Sometimes you just want a hot dog with ketchup on it. Sometimes you just want French fries.
and as you say, some of the like, it sounds silly, but one of the most satisfying things to eat is just freshly baked bread. Just like warm, fresh baked bread
with butter. One of the simple. Oh, you know, you go to any restaurant, the fanciest restaurants in the world. What they do before you like your meal, bread and oil.
Oh yeah,
Just salt
like
and fat.
balsamic vinegar and olive oil mixed together. Dip your bread in.
But you know what? Like, you know, we're going to go through some English dishes now. So we start, Lucas, with, and I'm gonna. This article is very helpful. It has the name, an image, the first known time it was produced. You know, at least according to like historical records, whether it's savoury or sweet, the region of origin, and then a brief description.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you the name of the dish, and you're going to like, see if you can describe or guess what it is. So the first one we have here is the Bedfordshire clanger, or Bedfordshire. So it's a Bedfordshire clanger, and it can be savoury or sweet.
Definitely Bedfordshire.
So it's someone Bedfordshire, yeah.
Not Bedfordshire.
No.
How dare you, Carl?
Well, Americans, when they say they go Bedfordshire, because they just think England's like Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh God. I don't know what a Bedfordshire clanger is.
Well, I can tell you, Lucas, it is a suet crust dumpling with a savoury filling on one end and a sweet filling in the other. So
Can
it's
you give me an example?
Well, think of like, well, I can send you a picture. Think of like a dumpling, but it's like a sweet dumpling or a savoury dumpling. It says modern day people would have either a sweet version or a savoury version. So I think either like.
Does it give an example of like the fillings it would have in either end?
Yeah. Meat, diced potatoes, and vegetables, and the sweet filling could be jam, cooked apple, or other fruits. However, modern ones would have one filling throughout or something in the middle to separate the two. So it's effectively like, you know, it's your sweet and your savoury at the same time.
I mean, yeah, because like, say for example, like a kind of apple pie with some meat on the other end. I can kind of see it.
It's basically, do you know that? Because again, this is a food for poor people. It is your entire meal in one go.
Yeah, sure.
And it says like modern ones might just have all the savoury or all the sweet, but think of it as like, you know, for anyone who can't imagine what it'd be like, think of like a dumpling, but it has like the stuff you put with the dumpling is inside.
I mean, The picture that you sent definitely looks more just like a pastry.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small picture, but it looks like just a fucking Greg sausage roll or something like.
But it's specifically suet though, which is the thing
yeah.
that you need this. And that's another thing I learned as well. When I learned that basically every culture on Earth has a variation of bread and a pancake. Like every culture invented simultaneously the pancake and the potato cake, and they all have different names for it.
That's what I was going to say. What do you prefer between a pancake and a potato cake?
A pancake.
Okay.
Well, every culture has invented their variation of it because most cultures think of like just frying potato in a pan, and they have a different name for it. But the next one, Lucas, a classic: bangers and mash.
And that is mashed potato, and then the bangers are sausages.
Yes, and it says here that it dates back to at least 410.
410.
It's savoury, and it's considered to be a national dish. So it has no like designated point of origin that we're aware of. So the Romans would eat bangers and mash.
We've got records showing that that's like over 55 years. 55 years? 1500 years.
Yeah, it says in Roman Britain, there's people would eat it.
Wow.
And that's the thing as well. A sausage seems like a very simple thing, but if you like when you get a really, really well-made sausage,
that's a question, isn't it? How many of these dishes are older than the USA?
That one is.
That one definitely is.
Bedfordshire clangers from the 19th. Sure, that's a fun game. So the Bedfordshire clangers from the 19th century. I don't want to actually guess how old it is. Just guess whether or not it's older than the USA.
Okay, yeah.
Which is formed like 1776. Do you want to just double check that when America
was
founded?
I'll have a look.
I go to the next one.
I'll have a look.
So bangers and mash, for anyone listening and they don't know, mashed potatoes and sausages sometimes served with onion gravy or fried gravy. And he mentions here that whilst sausages date the dish to like 410, potatoes weren't introduced to Europe until the 16th century, so it was often served with other root vegetables.
Right. Okay.
You
got it right, by the way. 1776.
And then we have here, Lucas, beans on toast. Very simply, a tin of baked beans heated on toast sliced bread. And here's the thing for Americans, because Americans, when you say baked beans in America are sweet. They're like Joe, when you go to like a barbecue restaurant and you get like the beans in that.
Yeah.
That's what American baked beans are. Our baked beans are more savory. It's haricot beans and they're served in tomato sauce. So that's the other thing that throws Americans off of like their beans are different to the beans that we have.
I've seen people lose their shit at like videos of Americans trying to make beans on toast and then just them putting like American beans on and people just losing their mind, or like refried beans and stuff. And that's not the right bean.
It's the same name, but it's a different kind of bean and a different kind of sauce. Like one of the gifts I got from my ex who was American, she bought me American beans, and one day I will make American beans on toast just to see what all the fuss is about, and I bet it tastes like shit. And that'll probably explain why Americans don't think it sounds very nice.
I don't know. I mean, there's going to be nothing. It's going to be a very different taste and like meal, but there would be nothing wrong with those like American barbecue style beans with like the barbecue sauce and stuff on a bit of bread.
Yeah, but like it's not what beans on toast is traditionally known as. So
it would be very.
You can understand why Americans are thrown off. And there's no date for when beans on toast was invented. But he does know it's a national dish, so there's no point of origin we're aware of.
I can't imagine that a traditional tin of baked beans is older than the USA.
We don't know. Like they might have put them in jars. Then we have next, Lucas, is the chicken tikka masala, which I was always under the impression it was made in Scotland. So it's always like the story that it was a Scottish guy who owned an Indian restaurant, put gravy on his curry.
I believe it was like the story I've heard was that it was an Indian guy that moved to Scotland and invented it in like Glasgow or something.
There's plenty of rumours that say they invented it, but it's essentially a curry with a far creamier, sweeter sauce. And the rumour is it's a guy asked for gravy on his curry, and they mixed gravy with the curry, and it created a sweeter, more savoury sauce than like the traditional Indian style curry, which would be more spicy.
So I'm gonna.
And that was invented in the 20th century.
Okay, so the origins on chicken tikka masala for Wikipedia says the origin of the dish is not certain, but many sources attribute it to the South Asian community in Great Britain. Some sources cite Glasgow as the city of origin, and it may also derive from butter chicken, which is a popular dish in the Indian continent. But yeah, I think the comments may be mad at you calling that an English dish because it's generally believed to be like founded in Scotland.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. So that's like, we can't claim that one. But moving swiftly on, we have cobbler, which is Americans. Well, we make peach cobbler. It originates from the UK initially, according to this.
I'm definitely guessing then that cobbler it predates the USA.
Yeah, 19th century, perhaps earlier.
Oh,
But it
okay.
says it's a national dish from the British American colonies.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be either sweet or savoury, and it's made in the same way you make a scone.
Yeah,
so
I was
like a scone, you put that on top of like savoury or sweet filling.
I keep accidentally just full screen things as I'm trying to click around. Yeah, just I was gonna say it's like just kind of scones and like I should say like a peach cobbler would be peaches, and then isn't there normally like some kind of cream or sauce or something?
You can serve with cream or ice cream or something like that, yeah. And then next we have a beef Wellington made in 1939. Just simply beef cooked in a pastry crust. Beef Wellington is fine. I don't understand why it's considered to be such a classy dish. I think it takes so much skill to make.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of mushrooms, so like the fact that beef Wellington basically has like a layer of mushroom around it, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. But I think the reason it's such a popular dish is because it takes so much skill to make properly, and you don't know if you've cooked it properly, cut into it. So it's a sign of the skill of the chef.
Yes, because like generally nowadays the advice is like you've got to make sure that you are testing the internal temperature to make sure that it's cooked rare through.
But that means that the pastry on top gets disturbed. That's why it's often seen as a fancy dish. It's only a very skilled or confident chef could cook it and then serve it to you before it's and then cut it open in front of you without disturbing the pastry on the outside. Similar to like something like what's that really fancy dish? Is it souffle? Like that's the French chefs, yeah. It's like the sign of a chef where the kitchen is so quiet and still that the chef can make a souffle that doesn't fall. Then we have black pudding, which is Lucas.
That is essentially blood sausage, is another way to call it. And
dried blood.
It is just a sausage consistent of dry blood, and it is actually like surprisingly tasty and very like it's quite fatty. But I think it has like a decent amount of nutrients in it as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you try it without knowing what it is, it's fine. If you know what it is, it's going to put you off. And it says that we can't really claim that because that dates all the way back to 800 BC, being mentioned in the Odyssey.
Oh shit!
So it's another one of those things like plenty of cultures around the world have thought of utilizing every part of the animal, which includes just making sausage out of the blood of a pig, which coagulates and fries, and you mix it with like suet and stuff, and it's quite tasty.
It's just, as I say, a very like tasty little treat to have on. It comes normally on a traditional English breakfast.
Yep.
And like, just I think it's very delicious, but a lot of people are put off by the idea of just like
the mistake for me was my mum told me what it was when I was a kid before I tried it, and just as a result, I've never liked it because just I can't get out of my head what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things like haggis, where a lot of people say that if they don't know what haggis is, they like it, but the moment they find out what haggis is made of just like it's things stuffed into like the lining of a stomach, right?
Yep, sheep's stomach.
Sheep's stomach, right? And yeah, just the moment people find that out, it just puts them on.
Yeah, and we have here some other ones are Bubble and Squeak. There's no date on that one, but I don't think you can really claim that. Who's going to know event that? It's leftovers from a Sunday lunch put into a frying pan and just cooked in the bacon fat.
I was going to say, I always forget what Bubble and Squeak is because like it's such a nebulous. It's just some leftovers in a pan.
Fried mashed potato and cabbage. So just think like your leftovers that you get from, say, Americans, a Thanksgiving lunch. You just put it together in like traditionally in the UK, at least my house, like in a northern town, like, you have your bacon pan that has like lots of bacon fat in it. Just like fry the mashed potato and the cabbage in that, and serve it with the gravy from the day before. It's actually really nice. Cauliflower cheese, pretty simple. Can you guess from the name? Because you must know.
Is it cauliflower with some cheese on it?
Which I think is a very American thing. I think Americans have broccoli cheese and stuff, right? I think that's Americans that you stole our thing of covering everything in cheese.
Yeah, like cauliflower cheese is very nice, yeah.
It is, yeah. Like, so you can, most Sunday lunches, you can have the option to have some cheese sauce with it.
Honestly,
we have a cottage pie / shepherd's pie. And there's a difference between the two, what they're considered to be like, they're basically the same dish with one difference. And the difference is, Lucas.
Well, I was going to say, it is very hard to make things taste bad by just covering them in melted cheese.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so shepherd's pie is when you make it with lamb mince, and then cottage
Hence the
pie
name.
is when you make it with beef mince, and then
Yep.
there are a couple of other like official names, I think, for if you use like pork and stuff. But I remember making it with like turkey mince once and googling what's the name for like turkey mince cottage or shepherd's pie, and it was just turkey shepherd's pie.
Yep.
But
But shepherd's pie, as the name suggests, is made with lamb. That also is close, Lucas. It's dated to 1791. So the concept of a shepherd's pie is almost as old as the concept of America.
People lost America, went home, and started thinking of new dishes. Like, how can we get one up on those damn
Let's
Americans?
make them jealous.
Let's make them jealous
not
with
sure.
shepherd's pie.
To describe the dish, it's mince made, with gravy, topped with mashed potato, cooked in an oven.
And, normally as well, a lot of the time, like just a bit of cheese on the top.
Yeah, that's if you want to get fancy with it.
Like great.
We have Cumberland sausage, which is simply a long sausage from Cumberland. Just a long sausage.
Like, I mean, it's hard to claim a sausage, right?
But it is, people from Cumberland are very proud of the fact that the Cumberland sausage it's the curly one, right?
Oh, okay, right.
Curly sausage. So like saying, people from Champagne can't claim to invent it. Oh, it's just sparkling wine, but it's sparkling wine from the Champagne region. Similar thing, right? It's like a Cornish pasty.
Same with what we were talking about.
Made there.
Just like the idea of like blood sausage. It's like it's not necessarily just a British thing. It's like, plenty of people have thought of the idea of just putting things in sausage casing and calling it some guy.
Which he does mention. There's one here I'm not going to say because the name has also become a slur. Lucas, you probably know what it is.
No, but don't say it, obviously.
Yeah. It's because I just don't want the sound clip to resist me saying it, but I do recall that this particular dish is quite popular. And you can go to a shop and you can see the logo that says Mr. Brain's pork, insert the slur. And foreigners always take pictures with it because they don't believe it's a thing that we sell.
I'm honestly blanking. I'm not familiar enough with it. I would probably know, but I don't know. It's fine. It's fine.
Lucas, here we go. Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
Yes, fish and chips.
Again, it's hard. It's very nebulous to like just be. Well, we fried fish and potato. It's ours. It's like I'm sure plenty of people did.
Have you seen all those clips online of Americans trying it and they eat it with their fingers? It's weird. Like they pick up the fish with their fingers.
Depends on the size of the fish.
But they also, as well, they don't have it with any they don't have any peas or no gravy or no curry sauce. You can't have fish and chips without you wet. You gotta have you wet.
Well, I just use salt and vinegar normally.
Well, that's if you get good fish and chips. But you only go to a restaurant and it's like the restaurant fish and chips, and the fish is so fucking dry. If you go to a proper greasy fish shop and they wrap it in the paper and the paper starts going see-through on the way home,
oh no,
and you open it up. That's the thing that's when you know you don't need any wet.
Oh, I hate that. I hate just like the like fish that you get where there's just a wet base of grease.
That's what I like though. Oh, that's the thing I like. I don't like it when it's crispy. But you know what? Different tastes, different strokes for different folks, and that was invented roughly 1870. Now we have it, Lucas, the full English breakfast. So what do you think is necessary for a full English breakfast?
Okay.
So come on, describe it to the folks at home. What does a full English breakfast generally contain?
So I would say that a full English, at very least, would contain like normally fried, an egg of some kind, like scrambled eggs, something like whatever you want. A variety of eggs, but just egg, sausage, bacon, toast. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I see as like guaranteed must have on there, because to me it's a very customizable meal where you could have some black pudding, you could have like grilled tomato, baked beans.
Yeah. What if it wasn't on your plate? Would you say that's not a full English? Like, what would you like if it was missing from the plate?
Again, I think like the base meal to me is bread or toast, usually toast.
Usually toast.
and then bacon, sausage, eggs.
Yeah, and this is probably the one that Americans can probably most relate to. But they probably have a sweet on there. Like when you see like the American idea, you have like a waffle or a pancake. Something they usually mix their sweet with their savoury. But it mentions here, so it's a selection of fried foods, usually sausage, bacon, eggs, mushrooms, bread, tomatoes. Additional options sometimes include kippers and baked beans. Although, as you said, it's like a very malleable order.
Yeah, I see. Because I don't personally like just eating half a grilled tomato, and I don't like mushrooms. Like, I don't have them on my English breakfast, so I don't consider those as like a staple must-have. I see I say the base four, and then you customize your add-ons of what your taste is.
And I will say as well, like, if I was going to contend, like, if you had to send some up for like a national dish to compete against other dishes, I think I would choose a full English.
Oh, I would not.
What would you choose then? If you had to compete with like another nation's food, like what would you put forward? Because I'm not saying it'd be everything. Because like I'd want a full day of food. So breakfast has got to be a full English, right?
Maybe if it's specifically like what are we sending for the British breakfast choice?
Yeah, like I think that's like up there as like the heartiest breakfast imaginable, right? I can't imagine a breakfast much heartier than a full English.
The problem with a full English is like 90% of full English breakfast you're gonna get are just gonna be like not cooked or seasoned that well, and they're going to be dripping in grease.
Yeah. So it's another thing where if it's made poorly, I can see like a Weatherspoons full English ordered at like 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, and a picture of that going viral on the internet is like a bad example. But I can conversely see like one made at home. Like like 'cause usually my full English is always I usually have one a year, and it's on Boxing Day, and it's made like the leftover bacon and eggs from the previous day's like Christmas dinner.
Because like I got put off scrambled eggs for the longest time because so many times when you get scrambled eggs when you're out at places,
wet scrambled eggs.
They've cooked them and left them in a bain marie, and it's just like
the steam, right? And it's like
sat in the steam and gone soggy and wet. And it's not like, say for example, when you undercook them well, like say for example like omerice or like a French omelette where they're a bit like soft and undercooked eggs. This is just like scrambled eggs that are not done very well, and they've just sat in like a river of just condensed steam and gone wet and horrible.
If you want to get like a dippy egg, a runny egg, and it's like got all the snot on top. It's like, and again, just making a dish poorly was not but a well-made full English. And I think I made a full English for like my Christmas last year. I'm going to have to show it off. Like, do you remember that? Like, I made myself one because every year my mum would make the Christmas dinner, my dad would make the full English the next day.
Right.
So for like Boxing Day last year, I made myself a full English breakfast, and I was so proud. I sent a picture of it to my dad, and my dad sent a note back saying, "Well done, son." And I was so proud. Like, where the fuck is it?
Yeah, we always had actually not always. When like as a kid, I remember always we all had like a bacon butty for Christmas morning.
Yes.
And then when my dad decided to get a bit more posh and fancy with it, it would usually be like,
here it is. Okay, I got it.
Like some bagels with like cream cheese and salmon. And that's what we like evolved into as my dad decided to become like more middle class with his Christmas breakfast selection.
So I've got mine here. So my full English, I have it in front of me here. It had 2 fried eggs, fried beans, fried tomatoes, fried sausages, and fried bacon. Both with anyone could see. Let's turn brightness down a little bit so people can like see. I think that's a pretty top quality breakfast, right?
That looks good, yeah.
If you can zoom in, it's like
because
the beans. And I even made my own Christmas dinner because I met my dad in the evening, so I made my own Christmas dinner last year as well. And look how fucking top quality my chicken was. Look at that. That looks like something off a restaurant. Look at my spread. Oh, look at my buttered beans and my sprouts and my roast veg and everything. It was great.
And like, it's one of those of I hope people can kind of see that on like the out of focus pictures on Carl's phone.
I can zoom in. Wait,
doing it. Look at them parsnips and carrots.
Look at my parsnips. Look at my stuff. Look as well. You can tell I'm a fat knacker. Look how much. Oh God, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks like a spread for a family.
Well, I ate that all day.
I love how we're just on zoomed in, Carl. Now we just got like.
I can't do. Oh yeah, let's zoom back out. You just saw like restaurant thing.
You saw into Carl's soul.
But the thing is, well, I've got like the screenshot I sent my dad, where it's like, "Dad, what do you think of my full English?" He went, "Not bad, son." It's like for your dad to say that, it's like him saying, crying with tear in his eye. The next dish we have here, Lucas, is hot cross buns. Very simple dish, but nonetheless very satisfying.
Big thumbs down because they've always got fucking raisins in them. City
like
dried grapes, hot raisins.
And that comes like Lucas. That's a dish that is older than America. First like date, like on record, 1361.
Wow.
We'll speed up a little bit now. So we've got like a big bunch to go through. So I'm gonna just read out a few, and if there's one you want to single out or one you recognise, let me know. But I'll just go through now. So we have jellied eels, exactly what it sounds like. Kippers, which are smoked split herrings, and I do like kippers. If anyone out there who's like at the gym or anything, kippers are a very very good source of cheap protein.
If you can fish and a rice cake.
Well, no, kippers are really good. If you can they're very strong taste, but it's one of the things where it's an acquired taste, and I quite like the taste of kippers.
It's kind of similar to like something like anchovies, right? Where it's a very, very strong fishy taste.
But because they're very acquired taste, but if you do happen to like that acquired taste, a very good source of cheap protein and good fats as well. They're loaded with omega-3. Then we have a Lancashire hot pot, which that's from.
Maybe.
It is, yes. We have Lincolnshire sausage, liver and onions. I don't like liver and onions.
Don't actually, as somebody that did a full turn, don't diss livers.
No, liver's nice.
I don't like livers and onions as a dish, but people get
Liver's
really put off by livers. Livers, if you cook them nicely, are delicious.
There we go. Keep going. We have a pasty, which that also dates back to before America, like dated to the 13th century at least. Peas pudding, so that's split pea soup for Americans. Pie and mash, Lucas's favourite. Ploughman's lunch, my favourite kind of sandwich, which is a typical British lunch consisting of bread, normally buttered, cheese, onion, and sometimes pickle. So a ploughman's sandwich is a cheese, pickle, and salad sandwich, and that's like my favourite sandwich, just a cheese and pickle sandwich.
Is that like pickle as in like pickle that would get? I was going to say, are we thinking like pickle that we'd get on a McDonald's burger, or are we talking Branston pickle kind of vibe?
Branston pickle, or something more akin to Branston when you get on that. Then we have a pork pie. Love me a pork pie.
I just don't like that they're always cold.
I think that's you need that.
People always eat them cold and serve them cold. I don't like that.
It's the jelly. That's the acquired taste, but I am partial to a pork pie. And continuing on, we have rag pudding. Minced meat with onions in suet pastry, which is often boiled or steamed. That doesn't sound very nice. I'm gonna be honest, that sounds shit.
A steamed like British suet dumpling doesn't sound the best. Like,
no.
Obviously you steam like a lot of Asian dumplings. Like, I'm a fan of that, but
yeah. So some of this stuff does date back hundreds of years when we didn't have a lot of food, and we certainly didn't import a lot of stuff. And then we have a Scotch egg, a boiled egg wrapped in sausage and breadcrumbs, which is then deep fried.
I don't really deal with Scotched eggs because they're a literal mouthful, right?
Yeah.
But like ultimately pretty tasty. Just an egg battered and sausaged and everything. It's nice, yeah.
It's also as well really good source of protein. It's just an egg and sausage.
It's egg and meat, yeah. And a bit of carb.
We have Stargazy pie, and this is one of those ones where if I was going to like put someone off British food, I'd show them a picture of a Stargazy pie.
Is this the one that you sent with like the fish in?
It's a fish pie with sardines poking out of the pie crust as if they're looking at the stars.
Like literally the fish heads fully intact, poking out the top of the pie pastry. Like, ugh.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where it doesn't look very appealing. But I imagine if you like sardines, it's probably quite nice.
There's nothing wrong with fish pie. Like, fish pie is nice and tasty, but...
No, I prefer Admiral's pie. Because Admiral's pie is like... Do you like fisherman's pie? They're fisherman's pie, then they have the Admiral's pie, which has fancier fish in it. And that one has salmon in it. Speaking of pie, we have a steak pie. Classic. Classic, right? Older in America.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Older America going
I'm
back to
presuming,
1303.
like, is that just steak pie, like, or does it specify like steak and kidney pie or
Well,
anything
Lucas,
like that?
there are variations. There's steak pie, which goes back to 1303. There's steak and kidney pie, which dates a little further. There's steak and kidney pudding, and then there's steak and oyster pie, which is a steak pie with an oyster on top. Someone out there likes that.
What's the steak and kidney pudding then? What's the difference?
It's suet pudding.
Oh,
So it's like dumpling. Think of a dumpling. Then we have here a stotty cake, which is a heavy, flat bread. And like stotties are fucking dense.
that just sounds like something that's dense, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just like very
What's
flat.
a stotty?
I'm going to send you a picture, Luke. It's very dense bread. Do you know what stotty's really good for? Dipping in soup. Because it just goes...
Okay. Yeah. It is just like fucking fat, dense bread.
Yeah. We have the Sunday roast, which is also older in America.
Of course.
And Lucas, what's your meat of choice on a Sunday roast? So it's like usually root vegetables, gravy.
So I acknowledge that I am in the wrong. I kind of enjoy, in a certain way that I cook it in stock. I know that I'm wrong. Kind of enjoy the turkeys a little bit. Because like
then
a
you
bit
put the gravy on
dry
it,
and
right?
then the gravy on the top. I kind of like that texture. I don't know why. And I wouldn't cook a turkey for like a group of people like I do for myself, because I know that people prefer like it moister. But yeah, I normally have turkey because I don't know. There's something about like the dry turkey and then the wet gravy that I like. And I know that's weird.
Yeah. So with me with bacon, I like very crispy bacon. When I order bacon in a restaurant, when I order like a bacon burger, it's like, I'll make the bacon crispy. And I'll say, tell the chef if he thinks it's cooked enough, put it back in the pan. It's not cooked enough. And I know that that's not the way a lot of people like bacon, so a lot of places don't make it that way. And I understand if I was making bacon for someone else, I'd always ask them, how crispy do you like it?
I know a few people that are kind of the reverse of that with their steak, where it's like, I want it blue, but I don't want it blue as in chuck it on there for 30 seconds. I want you to like make it think it's been in a pan.
Yeah, walk through the kitchen with it.
I think that's gross. I'll do like a medium rare.
Then again, some people like in regards to like mashed potatoes, some people like it with the lumps in, even though proper mashed potatoes should have lumps in. But some people like that. Some people like the lumps.
But they're wrong. I don't mind lumps when you put some little cheesy lumps, because then they're like melty lumps. They're not abrasive lumps.
Or even like pasta, some like al dente with a bit of crunch left in it. So it's a concept that existed in cooking, right? Of like something you mentioned the eggs, slightly undercook the eggs as part of the dish, because like the specific texture of the undercooked eggs goes really well with the specific dish you're making.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of people that get really put off seeing omurice because it's essentially like cooked on the outside. It's like almost like a rare steak, but there's eggs.
Yeah.
And you just cut it down the middle, and then just like uncooked egg or like half cooked egg like pours out of it. And a lot of people are put off by the idea because they're like, well, that could be like undercooked and have salmonella in it and everything. And I think generally because it's like a Japanese dish, I think they have a better like standard of eggs that you don't really need to worry about that over there.
What's the thing in America? You're not allowed to refrigerate your eggs. They don't refrigerate their eggs.
And they do refrigerate their eggs.
Yeah, they refrigerate their eggs because theirs aren't treated the way that ours are, so ours don't need refrigerating.
Yeah, because they like bleach and wash their eggs.
Wash them, they wash their eggs, which removes like the protective outer coating, so they need to be refrigerated. Ours don't.
Yeah,
one of those weird things. But moving on, we have toad in the hole, which is something it sounds a bit off-putting. It's just sausages in batter.
It's
actually really
a combination of sausages cooked in a Yorkshire pudding, and a Yorkshire pudding is just oil and batter in put in an oven.
I remember talking about it to my American ex, where she wouldn't accept that a Yorkshire pudding is just a pancake made a different way. So no, it's different. It's like it's just pancake. It's the ingredients for a pancake.
Yeah. It's just the same ingredients. It's the same batter, but you just put it in an oiled pan and then put it in the oven instead.
Yeah. Like she couldn't understand. It's like, no, it's not a pancake. So I'm not saying it's a pancake. I'm saying it's made with the same ingredients.
It's made with the same batter, not even the same, like, it's not even a different like
No, it's
mixture of ingredients. It's the same batter, I
same
believe.
consistency. You just prepare it in a different way. And for Americans, it'd be like, think of like sausages and pancakes. Basically the same thing.
And
just prepare slightly differently.
American pancakes wouldn't use the same batter because
Yeah, they
they have
fluffier,
like
right?
fluffier, more risen pancakes.
And we have Welsh rarebit. When I heard what rarebit, it's like, do you know what Welsh rarebit is?
Is rarebit not rabbit?
No, I always think it's like rabbit.
Just because it sounds
toast.
like it, there's that association, right? Yeah.
It's cheese on toast.
Oh.
The sad European. But cheese on toast is really nice.
Yeah.
Cheese on toast is super nice. It's like for America, it's a cheese, a grilled cheese, but you just put cheese on bread and you put it under the oven.
Or the broiler, as they would say. Right?
Yeah.
Like we put it under like the grill setting on our oven, but I think it's like the broiler, what the Americans would call it.
Yeah. Or when I found out you can make like a cheese toastie on a George Foreman.
Yeah, of course.
That was a game changer.
Just two hot plates put together, like.
It's just a game. It's because though, what happens is it squeezes the cheese out a little bit, and a little bit comes out,
and you get that little crispy bit.
Bit.
Yeah.
Which I know it's not, but some people don't like that. That's the best bit.
I love just getting that little bit of cheese. Like you cut a little bit too much, put it in the cheese toasty, and then it pours out, crispens up on the hot plate, and then I like grab that and crunch it out, like sprinkle it over the top of the crunch.
Yeah. And moving on, we have here some Americans might like this apple pie. And remember, say no, apple pie is American. Well, in the UK, we were eating apple pie in 1390, 400 years before America existed. Eat that.
Yeah, I know that it's like a way more common traditional thing to like commonly make in America. Well, you don't. Mm-hmm. People aren't sitting there making apple pies every bloody week over in here.
I will say we have better apples though. Bramley apples are better for apple pie than whatever American apples they use. Because Bramley apples are so sour, so tart.
I can't honestly say that I've tried actual American apple pie. I've never been to America, so I can't give you a comparison.
Their apples are a lot less tart.
Right.
Which, again, acquired taste. People might not like the tarts. They might prefer it to be sweet, but them being so tart means that the tartness of the apples mixed with like the buttery smoothness of the pastry. It makes for a really nice like combination of flavors. Like on its own, Bramley apples aren't very nice, but mixed with really nice buttery pastry or a bit of ice cream or clotted cream.
I can only say that I know I very much enjoy the tartness of a UK apple pie.
Yeah, and we're on to like the sweets now, so I'll move quickly through these. So we have Bakewell tart,
which is shit.
It's shit.
Kipling made it better.
Mr. Kipling made it better. Banoffee pie. Americans aren't going to like that. But apparently it was invented specifically in the Hungry Monk restaurant in East Sussex.
Are we going to point out
made in
what we're talking about with the Kipling pie?
Okay, so Bakewell tart, it says here, it's a pastry shell filled with almond-flavoured sponge on a very thin layer of jam, developed in 1826 from the earlier Bakewell pudding. And in Bakewell, you can go there and you can get a Bakewell tart. It's not very nice because
Bakewell is a town.
It's a town you go to, and it's basically a pie crust with sponge and jam in it. And there exists this thing called a Mr. Kipling Bakewell tart, where they put icing as the final layer on the Bakewell tart.
And like half a little glazed cherry as well.
Little glacé cherry, yeah. And it's like I said with the apple pie just something about when you eat a proper quote unquote Bakewell tart, there's just something missing when you don't have the icing.
I think it's normally, from the ones that I've had, it is the balance of tart pastry to filling. It just it's so dry, and then that icing just balances out the dryness a bit.
It does, yeah. And people in Bakewell fucking hate when you mention where's the icing. They get really mad. And they have signs in windows saying "Do not ask for icing."
Like they are extremely mad at what Mr. Kipling did to improve on their Bakewell tart.
It'd be like the person who invented the hamburger being annoyed that someone put cheese on it. It's like, no, it's like, be honest, putting the cheeseburger is better.
That's the thing. I remember eating a lot of cheeseburgers in Hamburg. They weren't mad about it.
Yeah. It's like when I went to America. I went to like it's I forgot what it's called now. It's like Hungry Boys or something, or Hungry Jacks, and it's like they invented the double cheeseburger. It's like
Hungry
fuck yeah.
Jack's is the one that like Burger
Oh,
King
Big
got.
Boys. It's Big Boys. Do you know
Yeah.
the logo, like the guy with the holding up the thing? They invented the double cheeseburger. It's
I
like fucking
think
yes.
Hungry Jack's is what like Burger King is in Australia or something.
Maybe
Like,
there was someone else called Burger King, yeah. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
went there and there's a thing on the menu. We invented the double cheeseburger. Like, fuck yeah, you did. Well,
we were the
case at
first
Battenberg-
person to look at a cheeseburger and go, "Do it again."
They called him a madman. So you can't do it. No burger can be that high. Then we have a Battenberg cake, which is just sponge wrapped in marzipan, and I love Battenberg because it's like it's not that nice, but visually it's very appealing.
I think it is quite nice. I'm just a big fan of marzipan.
The best thing is though, when you peel it apart, you eat the marzipan separate from the sponge. Right? It's usually made with apricot jam. Continue on with bread and butter pudding, exactly what it sounds like. Butterscotch tart, Christmas pudding. I like Christmas pudding. People don't, because it's like again, it's very. If they're made poorly, it's very bad. It has a lot of
Christmas
raisins
pudding's
and dried fruit.
Shit fruit cake, right?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
don't. I like it. My granny used to make one every year. She would make it all year. Because the way they'd make Christmas pudding is you take all of the fruit and stuff from summer, you would dry it, and then you'd make the Christmas pudding, and you would leave it under your bed. You leave it under your bed all year, soaked in brandy.
I mean, I
And
do
my
like the whole like soaked in brandy, set it on fire spectacle of the Christmas pudding. Yeah.
Yeah, so my granny would make one every year, and she'd leave it under the bed, and it's just like all year, it's marinating, like fine wine. But then we have like Eccles cakes, Eton mess, Eve's pudding, Fulm, gypsy tart, Cornish heather cake, jam roly poly,
And
jam tart,
a jam roly poly is just like a Swiss roll kind of thing, right?
a Swiss roll sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
With jam, and a jam tart is just a pie crust with jam in it. And I remember this is like an old friend of mine. She is a professional pastry chef. She works for the Hilton. Like top whack knows what she's doing. So when she visited the UK, I took her to Greg's and I got her a iced finger. And I remember she broke down in tears laughing in Greg's when she realised that an iced finger was a hot dog bun with icing on it. Like she actually broke down in tears because she couldn't believe that's a thing we ate.
It's a cheap thing that'll give you some carb and sugar.
Yeah, but it's like, is that a hot dog one with icing on it? Yes, it is. It's an ice finger. Continuing on, we have a Knickerbocker Glory, a Madeira cake, and I do like Madeira cake. I'm a very big fan of citrus flavouring. Mince pie, parking, pound cake, saffron cake, scones, spotted dick.
There it is.
So spotted dick is a pudding with suet pastry and dried vine fruits, usually served with custard.
It's really, really upsettingly sad when there's the concept of people in Britain spotted dick, and it's like, what is it? It's some sponge cake
with it's sponge with raisins in it.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, next one, I think the next pudding is way better and has a way cooler name: sticky toffee pudding.
Oh,
sticky toffee pudding is so fucking good.
That might be the pudding I would put as like you saying, like put the full English as like the British, or at least the English representation for a breakfast dish. Maybe there's like some kind of, apple pie might be a contender or something, but sticky toffee pudding done well.
I'd put sticky toffee pudding up. So breakfast would be a full English, dinner would have to be a Sunday roast, right?
I guess it has to
like pie
be
and mash, like a really well made pie.
I would rather send like a really well made pie and mash in.
Okay, because I was thinking more like the Sunday roast,
or
the
like
variety of stuff you could have.
Cottage pie would be another really good shout as well.
Just very wholesome, like it's dense, right? So there's something about. I think like the equivalent would be like a lasagna. Do you know when someone puts down a really good quality, well made lasagna, and there's weight to it when they put it down? A really good quality like mince, like shepherd's pie or cottage pie, when they put it down on the table and you can feel the weight, and you know you're gonna have a good hearty meal.
I mean, it is the British equivalent of a lasagna, isn't it? Is the cottage pie. Yeah.
But sticky toffee pudding, if anyone out there hasn't had one, they are so good.
But make sure you get a good one. Cheap ones are fine because if you got a choice of cheap British like cakes, the cheap sticky toffee pudding is still going to outrank most of the other cheap cakes. But you
I'll say the
can't.
same things off.
You got to have a
Yeah.
nice one. But check if it's got raisins in, because some sneaky dickheads put
I don't mind the
belong
raisins.
in there.
And the next one we have is a mince pie, which is sweet, contrary to its name. So it's made with mince meat, which is sweet.
Yeah, it's weird.
So it's-
Like, people think of it in like a mince pie. You would imagine is like a warm, like savory, meaty
Yes.
pie, like a steak and kidney pie or something. But it's not. It's a little Christmas cold sweet.
And it's a
mincemeat
holdover
pie.
from when mincemeat used to contain meat. But traditionally, it would contain venison mixed with, as it mentions here, chopped apples, dried fruit, distilled spirits, and vinegar and spices. Optionally, meat or beef suet. So modern ones normally just they take out the meat because the flavor profile is kind of strange, and just keep it as like a mixture of like apple and dried fruits. With again, it does contain spices and herbs and stuff. Just
Like it's kind of like think like Christmassy spices, like
yes,
very like cinnamony like that.
and that is also older than America. And again, if any Americans out there, because I think my American ex, she was obsessed with mince pies because she's like. She would have, and when she tried, it's all right. I went, put it in the microwave. Put it in the microwave for just 10 seconds, no longer, just so the middle starts to get warm, and now bite into it. And it's like, oh my god. And we'd have to, whenever like they'd start shop, like when we'd like 16 boxes of mince pies. And finally, Lucas, the last one listed is a trifle and a treacle tart. And I'd consider that a treacle tart is also very nice, but I know that treacle is again an acquired taste. I really like the taste of treacle, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Same with a trifle, but I think a trifle might be the dish that we'd put up. You don't like it, but the skill required to make a good one. The skill to make a good trifle. The key to a trifle is it's layered. And a properly made one, every layer will stay with its own thing. It's like 3 desserts.
I hate trifle.
You don't like it. I like trifle.
I understand why people like trifle. I don't like trifle. Just, like the banana and the beef at the bottom, just...
Well, that's if you want to make a traditional one. But there's other ones. It's a cold dessert with varied ingredients, usually.
Paul didn't get the joke, chat.
I did, yeah, it's from France.
Okay, when you're like, oh yeah, but that's traditional.
No, I said it's a traditional one. That's the joke, right? Because Rachel makes it, it's like, oh, I followed the recipe exactly. And Joe's like, I like it.
Oh, God. I thought you were just being genuine then. You played it off too well.
No, it's a traditional English one. It's made with lady fingers, as like Rachel does. Soaked in wine with jelly, custard, and whipped cream, usually in layers. There's nothing worse as well when people try and make a fancy version of this and they go, ooh, they should make a fancy. Fuck off, no fancy trifle. It's got whipped cream or dream topping on top with the little sprinkle. I don't give a fuck.
God, no. Just, ugh. And it might just be that, it's one of those classic things. Maybe I just had, family members make very bad trifles when I was a kid and I've been, shell-shocked by that, but I despise trifles.
Sometimes the flavor profile doesn't work for you. It's like the same thing. I really don't like steak pie. I love pie, but the pie that I like, because I remember I went to a pie shop, and the reason I don't like a lot of meat is when I was younger, I had a Sunday lunch with pork, and the rule in our house was you don't spit out food, and you absolutely do not leave food.
And
one time,
and gristly.
It wasn't that. I got a piece of pork that had a vein in it.
Oh, right.
And I had to chew a vein in the pork for 40 minutes straight. And just ever since that day, any cut of meat that's thicker than that, I get a visceral reaction to it. So I don't like pie because I don't know how big the chunks of meat are in it. And one time it was like a cheese and broccoli pie.
Oh, yeah.
That was fucking incredible. It was but it had feta cheese in it as well. That was fucking incredible.
Yeah. Nice.
But I don't like the texture of a meat pie, so I don't like much meat. But usually, I don't like shepherd's pie for the same reason. Because sometimes you get bits of gristle in your mince. But when I had a vegetarian shepherd's pie, that was made with really finely diced vegetables, that was fucking incredible as well.
That's the problem with meat, right? Is a lot of your dependency on enjoying the dish depends on the quality of the cut,
the meat,
or mince or whatever. Someone's getting you very gristly, high fat mince meat, you might be less inclined to enjoy that.
Same for desserts as well. If you get you mentioned get a crap sticky toffee pudding. So I imagine like someone coming over, oh, I want to go to the UK and have like, proper fish and chips. And they go to like one of those chain restaurants,
Yeah.
like Harry Ramsden's or something. It's like, you're not having proper fish
Oh
and chips. So
yeah,
like,
the amount of times I've seen like Americans be like, "We're trying like traditional, like homemade British fish and chips." It's fucking Harry Ramsden's. I'm like, no.
the way you do it is like, you go to the one in Sheffield. And I could tell, like, it's a good fish shop. Because one, it's called Brenda's. So it's fucking good. It's called Brenda's. Two, it's open 2 days a week. And the sign on the door says we're open when we're open. And when it is open, it has a queue around the block.
See, I'm, obviously
there.
a little bit spoiled because I grew up on
live in
Merseyside,
Liverpool.
which is like, seaside. So I just live in an area where we are surrounded by places with good fish and chips because it's just, seaside places everywhere. So I'm used to like a lot of good like old school fish and chips.
Yeah. In the same token, I think I'm spoiled living in Sheffield because we have a lot of very, very good Indian restaurants. I think like within 3 miles of my location are at least 50 Indian restaurants, 10 of which have awards. And one of the things I did I think, it was this year I was doing it. Like every week I get my takeaway one because normally I like catch them on my TV and stuff, like watching whenever the boys is there, and I'll order an Indian,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll watch the boys or whatever's on TV that week. And just every week this year, I've just ordered a different takeaway.
Nice.
Just tried like, what is their signature curry, and they've all been fucking phenomenal. I got a biryani last week, and I knew it was a good one. I knew it was a good one because I opened it up. And the rice, it was so densely packed in, but the moment I did it, you could just see it's like the rice was brown because it had been so heavily steeped in the sauce. I'm like, oh, that's good.
The question is,
I
Carl,
didn't even need to put sauce on it, mate. I didn't put sauce on it because like the rice was that flavorful.
is this all just because you got banned from the wedges?
I don't even ban for the wedges, so I can't order from there anymore.
No, that's what I mean. It's like you're not allowed the wedges anymore.
So you want to tell that? We've got to end on, I suppose. I'm not allowed to order the wedges.
So, like, one of the last times I went round to Carl's flat, it was when you were still living in your old place, and I came round and was like, do you want to name the takeaway or not?
Yeah, it's kebabish. It's like I mentioned it in a factory video. It's like it's just it literally on Just Eat says local legend.
Yeah,
it's where they filmed the climax to Four Lions.
Oh, is it right?
Yeah, it's where you get the best lines. Like, let's finish these chips and we've got 11 lads. One of the best delivered lines in the film.
So yeah, it's just it's literally just like a kebab place with like cheap takeaway options and stuff. And we often just went there because they did like really good soft wedges.
Yes, because they fry them in the same place they fry their chicken fingers. So they're fried in like chicken oil, and they're so good.
They're very like just melt in your mouth potato wedges. But I was like, oh well, yeah, we could go kebabish, and Carl's like, we can't order from kebabish unless we do it on your Eats account. I was like, what do you mean? Well, I've done it multiple times recently where I've ordered it while I was like, a couple of drinks in, and then fallen asleep before the deliveries got there.
They've blacklisted my number.
So they just blacklisted Carl's account.
So I can only order from one of my. That's the reason I say like ordering like Indian food and stuff. Sometimes you just want a dirty take. Sometimes you just want a dirty kebab, right?
100%, yeah.
And just I can't order from my favorite dirty kebab place. They blacklisted my number. My account, and I don't want to delete my account because my account has like you build up like rewards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the places, like, so I've been ordering from these places, like, I've lived in Sheffield for like 10 years now. Some of these places, like, I've ordered from literally like half a decade. I get like free poppadoms and stuff. It's not my free poppadoms.
But it's just very funny when it's like, oh, fancy some wedges. If we go kebabish, like, oh mate, you're gonna have to do it on your account because I've been blacklisted by them.
I remember the time I ordered from one takeaway so much. I'd always order from it after work when I worked nights. It was the only one that was still open. And it's like, I can't be arsed cooking. And I work for tips as well. So it's like, well, I was about like 30 quid in tips. I was order a pizza, whatever. And I ordered about that much to send me a Christmas card. It's like, oh no. I had to stop.
Did I make up that you got like a little card of like, Carl, we miss you?
Yeah.
It's like, please come back to us, Carl. What did we do wrong?
The one that I remember is like Kebabish is why it's really annoying because there's a thing on Just Eat where they do it's the stamp card thing. So if you order from there 5 times, you get a discount. I think like last time Rogan and Charlie were over, I did it from the other restaurants. And I had that built up, and we ended up getting an entire takeaway, and it cost us £3. Because I managed to combine all of the different like discounts I'd built up. So we ordered like food for 3 people, 3 drunk people.
Yeah, I still
It was
remember
like £3 plus delivery.
the last time that like, oh, not the last time, but one of the last times we did at your last flat where I think it might have been Kebabish that we ordered from, and it was like after one of the Fat Fiend Live events.
Oh, is it when we ordered too many chips?
It wasn't. It was when we got drunk, and we probably did order too many chips and wedges. But then they also seemingly like doubled the amount of excessive or like already excessive amount of meals that we'd ordered.
We had like 20 boxes of chips, right?
We checked the order, and it was like, okay, yeah, there's probably about like, 6, 7 orders of like fries and wedges between the like 3 of us.
Yeah, it was 4 of us.
Or 4 of us, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and we ordered food for like the person who passed out. But it's like 4 of us, and then like 1 pizza that comes with chips, a burger that comes with chips, and an extra portion to pick from.
But then like seemingly they gave us like double the amount of the excess that we'd already ordered in terms of like chips, and I don't know if it's just we ordered late and they were like, "Fuck it, give them all of it."
I think it was that. I don't think I'll ever be able to find the picture.
And it was just like waking up the next day, and there was just a mountain of boxes of fries, and we were like, "What happened?"
So I've got a few pictures of like demonstrating this. Like, I went to like a Christmas like restaurant once, and it's just here's me with the naan bread,
the naan that's the size of
torso. Well, I remember when I ordered that, and the guy went, "I love bread," and when I ordered that, the guy was like, That's for a family. Is he ordering that for the table? I'm like, no, I'm ordering it for me. And keep in mind, my order for a Chinese, when I went there, it's Indian, sorry. Okay, so I want a curry, biryani, chips, 3 poppadoms, and that. Anyway, that's for the table, and that's for me. And everyone at the table, like, if you eat that, I'll pay for your meal. And it's like, well, I want dessert as well. So, hurry up. I'm a big boy.
The only thing I can think of every time you tell that story, it's just like the peep show me of like 4 naan, Jeremy. 4 naan. That's insane.
Is that a love bread? Oh, I don't think I'll be able to find it, but basically, one time we were going to like, your classic pub lunch, right? Yeah. We went there at like 8 o'clock at night, just as it was shutting down. And just the guy kind of went, "Look, do you want rest at food that's in?"
Mm-hmm.
And he brought over just the chafing dish of chips. And he was like this, and I just sat there and went, "This is a good day." There's a picture of me somewhere as an entire chafing dish of chips, like, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what day it was, where like it was near the holidays and we were working at Nando's, and don't get me wrong, like normally this doesn't happen, so don't actively try to go to restaurants as late as possible to try and get free shit, because normally it'll just bin the food anyway. But it was around holidays time, and there was like a few tables that had been there ordering drinks like for a couple of hours before like, a night out or whatever, or after a Christmas party at the office and things. And it's just like, we've got like 30 chicken wings left. Do you want to just go around and give out like a big bowl of chicken wings to the last couple of tables? Like just seeing people's faces light up of like, do you want an extra like bowl, like entire big bowl of chicken wings at the end of your meal? And they're all like, yeah.
So I can't find any examples of this, but there's been plenty of time. There's loads of pictures of me in restaurants, and people always want to take a picture of my order because they never believe like why I order so much. It's like, well, when I go to a restaurant, I don't eat the entire day because I want to get my fucking money's worth. I always go to the gym in the morning as well.
It's always the takeaway joke that we made of like Carl's carbs.
Yeah.
Of like Carl would always get like, you'd get like what, a chow mein with chips and rice or something like that.
Yeah. It's like my usual pizza order is 2 pizzas, the Joey special. It's just one. I'll eat 1 pizza and then smash the other half and save the rest for like the morning or whatever. Or like, this is why I have to exercise and drink lots of water. Because This is why I had to like cut myself off. Kebabish, they knew. So I'm not that bad. It's just like when I eat bad food, I've got a very addictive personality. So when I'm going to eat bad food, it's like I go all out. So it's like the thing of like, what's the point in going out for like one drink? I'd rather not drink in that case. Same thing like I'm going to eat bad food. Like I don't eat dessert, for example, because I know if I ate dessert, I'd feel ripped off if I didn't eat more dessert. But I don't want to eat that much dessert. So that's like at Christmas time is the one time I'll eat dessert, and I always buy myself an entire cheesecake. Like, I did go to my mum's house and I bought a cheesecake. I was like, well, you know, I've got dessert. And I went, that's my cheesecake though. And I'll just sit there and eat the cheesecake because I know it's the only time of the year that I will.
It's like another time we went on out in the last like year or so where drunk Carl kept being like at McDonald's when I was ordering, I was like 20 chicken nuggets, and you were like, yeah, we'll get 20 chicken nuggets. I was like, I'll get 20 chicken nuggets, Carl. You were just, yeah, but I'll have some of your chicken nuggets. I was like, Carl, I'm getting 20 chicken nuggets. You can buy your own chicken nuggets if you want to.
So I went to Poland. So I was in Poland and went out with the hostel night out. And they just took us to all like the vodka restaurants. And I lost my mate halfway through the night. And I went to like the McDonald's near the hostel before I went in. And do you know like the Always Sunny meme where he's looking, it's like just sees like other side of the restaurant?
Yeah.
And that McDonald's, it's the only McDonald's in the world I've seen do it, didn't offer us 50 nuggets. And both me and him ended up there at the same time, both ordered 50 chicken nuggets and just sat in the hostel at 3 a.m. with a bottle of vodka between us and just ate 100 nuggets.
That's a lot of nuggets.
Do you know what though? I didn't eat for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I didn't eat for the next 2 days. Great.
Like I normally don't polish off. There's normally like a couple of the 20 chicken nuggets left for me to like just sadly scavenge the next day.
But the thing is though, we've been like, it was when I was like walking around Europe.
Yeah.
And we'd walked like 15 miles and then gone on a night out dancing, and it's like we needed it.
Need that recharge. Just
you do. It's the dream. But yeah. You know what? I'm a man of worldly tastes. Sometimes you want 50 chicken nuggets. Sometimes you want a Sunday lunch. Other times you want.
I love the idea that, you know, like in a video game when it's like the beat 'em ups and you walk past like the whole chicken.
The whole chicken.
And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm fully healed. Just one time it should just be a box of 50 chicken nuggets.
Because I've always said, if I ever die, there's a picture of myself I can say it's my favourite photo I've ever taken. And it's a picture of me in Europe. I think we're in Germany. And we'd just been to like a techno nightclub the night before. And we went to a Burger King near the hostel. And they had this thing called the Big King, which is just their version of a Big Mac. And it was 2 for €5. And after I'd eaten it, I looked at my mate and went, I want to get 2 more. And halfway through me eating the third one, he just got a picture of me sat there and I looked at him and I smiled and went, I'm so happy. Because it's just me eating my 3rd Big Mac or my 3rd Burger King. I just looked at him and went, life's pretty good, right? Like, life can't be bad, right? So I was just in that moment, just completely, during it's complete zen. Because it was like bumfuck nowhere Germany. It was immaculate. And there was no noise. There was no cars outside. There was no one else in the restaurant but us. There was no music. It was completely silent. I just sat and went, this is it. It's the dream. And so that's the photo. Do you know when they have like the photo on your coffin? It's that one.
Just Carl, just being so happy with his burger. But speaking of happy, if people have, you know, enjoyed this podcast and it has made them happy in some level, then I would hope that they like this video or, you know, give us a good review on podcast services, share this to your friends who might enjoy it. But yeah, hopefully if people could support us that way.
So he's made me bloody hungry.
Okay. I am thinking of going and cooking some food after this because now I'm hungry.
The only thing is I had my lunch, so the only thing I've got left to eat is my vitamins and my my strawberries. I've got some strawberries that I'm going to go put in a bowl of cornflakes.
I had leftover lasagna, but at the
Come
same
on, don't
time,
tease me like that.
You know,
Lucas is just there sitting pretty with his lasagna.
That was like 7 hours ago. Could have a snack. Yes. Thank you all for watching and listening, and next time.
See you all next time. Cheers.